Thanks, Susan. And to our viewers, you're in the Situation Room, where new pictures and information are arriving all the time. Standing by, CNN reporters across the United States and around the world to bring you today's top stories. Happening now, President Bush heads overseas as Mideast tensions are exploding. It's 10 p.m. in Germany, where the traveling White House is pointing an angry finger at Syria and Iran. We'll have live reports on this developing story. Also this hour, Hillary Clinton's extreme makeover. As First Lady, she riled up the healthcare industry with her radical plan for reform. Now, as a senator, she's getting a much different reaction, and it's paying off for her politically and financially. And columnist Bob Novak names names. It's 4 p.m. here in Washington, where we now have new details about the sources of the CIA leak and the Karl Rove connection. I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room. Right now, President Bush is in Germany, closer to some of the world's most dangerous hotspots, including the Middle East, and two targets of the Bush administration's anger today. That would be Syria and Iran. The Mideast crisis clearly ratcheting up after the radical group Hezbollah today abducted 2 Israeli soldiers, killed 3 others. Calling that an act of war, Israel sent troops into Lebanon, Hezbollah's base of attack, losing 5 more Israeli soldiers. The Bush administration is accusing Hezbollah of terrorism, and the White House says it's holding Syria and Iran responsible because they support Hezbollah. Our White House correspondent Ed Henry is traveling with the president. He's standing by live in Germany. Let's go to Jerusalem. Paula Hancock has all the latest developing information. Paula?
Well, Wolf, the Israeli government has just had a special meeting to decide what to do next. Now, that meeting has finished, but they are giving very little away. This was a meeting for operational details, the military operation that they are going to carry out against Lebanon. Now, we have been seeing the Israeli Air Forces, troops, tanks, gunships, all in southern Lebanon. This is the first time we've seen them there since they withdrew in May 2000. Now, we've heard from one minister leaving that special cabinet meeting saying this is the start of a new era. We've also heard from Raanan Giesing, a spokesman for the government, saying that they are going to take gradual steps, suggesting there is not going to be a huge military incursion, but just the troops that we see at the moment after 8 Israeli troops were killed this Wednesday. Now, we know that they have been targeting Hezbollah buildings. We know that they have been targeting roads and bridges. They are hoping, the military says, to stop militants moving with the 2 Israeli soldiers that they have taken, and they're trying to restrict their movement so they have a better idea of where they are. But they are moving slightly deeper into Lebanon. As I say, the first time we've seen this for 6 years, a severe escalation in tensions here in the Middle East. Surprising it's escalated so fast, even though things do escalate very quickly in this region. Wolf.
First, the tensions with Gaza, and now the situation in the north with Lebanon. We're getting reports, and I wonder if you've heard this, that the Israeli military has started to activate reserve units to bolster up its military presence in case it moves directly into Lebanon.
Yes, we heard that a little earlier this Wednesday, the military sources confirming to us that reserves are being called up. Now, this is to back up the troops that they have already. We know that in the hours after this attack, it happened 9 a.m. local time in the morning, that's 2 a.m. Eastern time. Instantly, tanks and troops were moved up to that Israeli southern Lebanon border. And we know also that things are ongoing in Gaza as well. We know almost 20 Palestinians have been killed just Wednesday alone. That's 80 Palestinians, according to security sources, that have been killed in Gaza since the start of this operation just over 2 weeks ago. So on 2 fronts now, Israel is carrying out very heavy military operations. Wolf?
Paula, stand by. You and your colleagues, they're going to have a very, very busy few hours. Thank you very much for that. I suspect it's going to be a tense situation throughout the region coming up tonight. President Bush, meanwhile, landed in Germany only moments ago, his only stop before the G8 summit in Russia. With so many global challenges before him, including these latest developments in the Middle East, this trip may be a critical test of the president's new emphasis on diplomacy. Our White House correspondent Ed Henry is traveling with the president. He's on the scene in Germany. Ed, what has the White House reaction to the latest tensions involving Israel and Lebanon? What's been the official White House reaction?
Wolf, even before the president arrived here in Germany, the White House released a blistering statement putting the blame squarely at Iran and Syria for the escalating violence in the Mideast. Add that to the list of foreign policy headaches that will be waiting for the president at the G8 summit in St. Petersburg. Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice is on a separate diplomatic mission to Paris to deal with Iran, again refusing to answer the U.S. offer for talks in exchange for suspending its nuclear enrichment program. As Rice threatened tough UN sanctions against Iran, she had to deal by phone with yet another Middle East flare-up. Israeli troops stormed into Lebanon after Hezbollah abducted 2 Israeli soldiers and killed 3 more, which the Israeli Prime Minister dubbed an act of war and the White House called an unprovoked act of terrorism. Then there's a nuclear threat from North Korea as well as Iran, which the White House seems to be reacting to from a defensive posture.
We'll have to see. I think the diplomacy has set it up well. We'll have to see what these countries decide.
This has inflamed some conservatives, with Bill Kristol charging the approach to North Korea is Clintonian. But yet another hotspot, the ongoing war in Iraq, has left the president with a weakened hand.
The White House says the president has always said that approaches will change as circumstances change. But one of the circumstances that has changed, of course, is the president's standing at home and in the world.
In need of allies, the president is making the special stop in Germany to further bond with new Chancellor Angela Merkel.
Bush has focused on Germany, now that Chancellor Merkel is in office, as the key link to Europe. And that's important because Tony Blair is very weak. And that gives the United States a new foothold in Europe.
But there may be cracks in the president's one-time alliance with Russian President Vladimir Putin on the eve of their own one-on-one talks before the G8 summit. President Putin is reacting bitterly to a speech Vice President Cheney recently delivered in Lithuania, charging Russia may be backsliding on the way to full democracy.
I think your vice president's expression there is like his bad shot on his hunting trip.
An obvious reference to the vice president's recent hunting mishap back in the United States. The vice president's office today would not comment on that blast from Mr. Putin. It may only add to the pressure on President Bush to actually address some of this directly with his Russian counterpart. But for now, senior aides are saying the president is likely to be frank and in private with Mr. Putin, meaning basically that he'll do most of the talking behind closed doors rather than embarrass Mr. Putin in public. Wolf.
Ed, are White House officials elaborating on why they're pinning the responsibility on Syria and Iran for this latest crisis in the Middle East?
They're not elaborating in great detail, but it's pretty clear that given the fact that there's already this nuclear standoff with Iran, the White House sees an opportunity here to ratchet even more pressure on Iran, try to rally the international community against Iran to make sure that uranium enrichment program is for peaceful purposes. Wolf.
Ed Henry traveling with the president. Ed, thank you very much. And to our viewers, this note, we're going to talk a lot more about the North Korea missile crisis coming up in our 7 p.m. Eastern hour right here in the Situation Room. The special U.S. envoy, Christopher Hill, he'll be joining us live from Beijing. That's coming up 7 p.m. Eastern tonight. After many months of silence, the columnist Bob Novak is revealing more about his role in the leak of a CIA operative's identity. Let's get some more on this story that we reported on last night. Bob Novak's story. Brian Todd is standing by here in Washington. Brian?
Wolf, in a new column breaking that silence, Novak seems to be trying to make one fundamental point, that he did not betray his sources.
Bob Novak says he confirmed all 3 of his sources on former CIA officer Valerie Plame's identity to investigators because, he writes in his latest column, Special Prosecutor Patrick Fitzgerald already, quote, knew the names of my sources.
It's interesting that Fitzgerald already had identified his sources when he finally came to interview Mr. Novak.
How did Fitzgerald know? The columnist says the prosecutor had gotten signed waivers from every official who might have leaked Plame's identity. Legal experts say by signing those waivers, government officials free journalists to talk about their conversations and use their names with investigators, but not to the public, unless the source agrees. How was Fitzgerald able to pare down possibly hundreds of officials who might have known about Plame to Novak's 3 sources? A former special prosecutor says Fitzgerald most likely worked very fast, sending his team of investigators to interview all of them.
Those individuals know when a FBI agent comes calling, you either tell the truth or you're committing a crime. And I suspect most of them owned up very quickly to their conversations, and that's how we knew.
Novak does not publicly reveal the name of his primary source, but he does say White House Deputy Chief of Staff Karl Rove and former CIA spokesman Bill Harlow were his secondary sources, confirming Plame's identity. Legal experts differ on whether those conversations add up to leaks. President Bush has often been pressed on what he'd do with a leaker on his staff.
Do you stand by your pledge to fire anyone found to have done so?
Yes, and that's up to the U.S. Attorney to find the facts.
Rove would not comment on Novak's latest column, but a Rove spokesman has said he never reached out to reporters about Plame and only responded casually when asked about her. Bill Harlow was not available for public comment, but a former intelligence official familiar with the issue tells CNN Harlow tried to convince Novak not to run the story on Plame after Novak presented her name to him. Wolf?
All right, Brian, thanks very much. We're going to have more on this story coming up in the Situation Room as well. In the meantime, let's check in with Jack Cafferty. He's in New York with the Cafferty File. Hi, Jack.
Wolf, you can tell that spring is near when the Swallows return to Capistrano. You can tell the midterm elections are near when the Army announces it's ending a multi-billion-dollar contract with Halliburton. The contract to provide logistical support to soldiers in Iraq will be rebid and potentially split among 3 different companies. Halliburton, which used to be run by Vice President Dick Cheney, has long been under fire from auditors, from the Justice Department, from congressional Democrats for the price and the quality of its work. Government audits found more than $1 billion in questionable costs. Army officials defend Halliburton's performance. They acknowledge that relying on a single contractor leaves the government vulnerable, not to mention looking more stupid than usual since the vice president's their former CEO. Halliburton will be eligible to bid on the new contracts. The company has denied allegations of any wrongdoing, and they say it's neither unusual nor unexpected that the contract would be replaced with a competitive bid approach, particularly in light of the looming midterm elections. Here's the question: what does it mean that the Army is ending its contract with Halliburton? Email your thoughts to CaffertyFile@CNN.com or go to CNN.com/CaffertyFile. Wolf.
Jack, thank you. And to our viewers, if you want a sneak preview of Jack's questions, plus an early read on the day's political news and what's ahead right here in the Situation Room, sign up for our daily email alert. Just go to CNN.com/Situation Room. Coming up, nearly 5 years after the 9/11 attacks, allegations of waste, fraud, and abuse of Homeland Security Department dollars. We're going to tell you about the schemes being spotlighted by Congress and showing up online, including one involving a petting zoo. Plus, has a former target of the healthcare industry become its new darling? We're checking into the healthy donations being given to Senator Hillary Clinton. And up next, former Secretary of State Alexander Haig on the escalating crisis in the Middle East and the Bush administration's attempt to hold Syria and Iran accountable. Stay with us. You're in the Situation Room.
The Situation Room is brought to you by Head On. Head On, applied directly to the forehead. Head On is available without prescription at your nearest pharmacy.
Head On, applied directly to the forehead. Head On, applied directly to the forehead. Head On, applied directly to the forehead. Head On is available without a prescription at retailers nationwide. New from the makers of Head On, introducing Activon. Arthritis pain? Activon. Apply directly where it hurts. Activon Arthritis, available at Walgreens.
Freedom from hemorrhoids? Freedom Hemorrhoid Cream. Freedom from hemorrhoids? Freedom Hemorrhoid Cream. Freedom from hemorrhoids? Freedom Hemorrhoid Cream. Available at Walgreens, CVS, and Rite Aid.
In Thailand, the Thai people celebrate His Majesty King Bhumibol Adulyadej's 60th anniversary ascension to the throne. He is currently the longest reigning monarch in the world. His Majesty was born in Cambridge, Massachusetts, where his father, Prince Mahidol, attended Harvard University. A great patron of the arts, he is also an accomplished jazz musician and has played with many world-renowned names such as Benny Goodman, Jack Teagarden, and Lionel Hampton. Applying his diverse background and experience from both East and West to developing his country, His Majesty has improved the social and economic conditions of his people. Thailand's current prosperity is proof of this innovative approach. On this joyous occasion of His Majesty's 60th anniversary ascension to the throne, royalty from around the world will descend on Thailand for the celebration. We welcome you to join us for this momentous event.
Larry King Live, exclusive. Dan Rather's first live in-depth interview on his life after CBS. Dan Rather takes your calls. Larry King exclusive. Tonight, 9 Eastern, only on CNN.
Do you have difficulty falling asleep and staying asleep at night? Are you 65 years of age or older? A clinical research study is being conducted for an investigational medication for the treatment of insomnia. Qualified participants will receive study-related medication, study-related medical care, and may receive compensation for time and travel. If you are 65 years of age or older and are interested in learning more about this insomnia research study, please call 503-276-6224.
You're going to love saving 13% over the phone company. Switch to Comcast Digital Voice and get unlimited local and long distance with 12 great calling features plus voicemail for just $39.95 a month. Comcast Digital Voice. It's Comcastic. Switch to Comcast Digital Voice risk-free and get all your Comcast services on one bill.
Why TWA Flight 800 could happen again. CNN Saturday and Sunday nights, 7 Eastern.
We're standing by to speak live with former Secretary of State Alexander Haig on the escalating crisis in the Middle East. We'll get to that shortly. First, Frederica Whitfield is joining us from the CNN Center with a closer look at some other important stories making news. Hi, Fred.
Hello to you, Wolf. Authorities say a raging wildfire in Southern California is 0% contained and could scorch as much as 100,000 acres. Low humidity, high winds, and temperatures in the high 90s are hampering efforts to contain the blaze. The blaze, which has charred some 26,000 acres so far, has destroyed 30 buildings and caused about 300 people to be evacuated. A short time ago, China and Russia introduced a resolution to the UN Security Council responding to North Korean missile testing. The new resolution deplores last week's launches and urges Pyongyang to impose a moratorium on missile testing. But it tones down or removes much of the language included in an earlier Japanese draft that was deemed counterproductive by the Chinese. Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld says U.S. troops will have to continue providing support to Iraqi security forces for, quote, some period of time. He made the comments while visiting U.S. forces in Iraq today. Rumsfeld told the troops that the development of the Iraqi military and police has been, in his words, uneven. And following talks with Iraqi officials in Baghdad, the secretary said political progress is key to establishing security in that country. Meanwhile, another wave of violence in Iraq. 9 people were killed and more than 20 were wounded in a pair of bombings in Baghdad. And late today, 20 bodies were found in Diyala province, northeast of Baghdad. Iraqi security officials say they are among 24 people kidnapped earlier in the day. Wolf.
Thanks, Fred, very much. Frederica Whitfield filling in for Zane Vergie, who's on assignment today. We're going to have a lot more on Iraq coming up in the next hour, including my interview with Major General William Caldwell, the chief spokesman for the U.S. military in Iraq. At the same time, new crises are being met with a new language coming in these days from the White House. But is it a sign of a new attitude, the end of what's being called cowboy diplomacy? Our senior analyst, Jeff Greenfield, takes a closer look. Jeff?
What do you think? Wolf, President Bush is off to Germany and Russia at a time when diplomacy seems to be the watchword of the moment. Does this represent a change in tone and maybe even substance from the past? Among those who say yes, there is a fascinating mixture of approval and concern.
This will be a monumental struggle.
By most accounts, the Bush administration's posture after the attacks of September 11th was that of a nation determined to act forcefully, with or without the world's approval.
I will not wait on events while dangers gather.
Even before the invasion of Iraq, back in the fall of 2002, the administration's national security strategy made a case for preemptive action and set down a strong marker about universal values. America, it said, must stand firmly for the non-negotiable demands of human dignity, free speech, freedom of worship, equal justice, respect for women, religious and ethnic tolerance, and respect for private property. When the invasion of Iraq was opposed by traditional allies like Germany and France, Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld labeled them part of the old Europe.
You're thinking of Europe as Germany and France. I don't. I think that's old Europe.
And Bush allies, like the New York Post, graphically scorned the axis of weasel. But now, with American forces stretched thin in Iraq, and with trouble spots heating up from North Korea to Iran, the recent tone has been sharply different.
Welcome.
Secretary of State Rice has been mending fences, and the president's language after the North Korean missile launch has been strikingly different from that of the past.
Diplomacy takes a while.
And as for those non-negotiable demands for universal values,
I looked the man in the eye. I found it to be very straightforward and trustworthy.
the president continues to embrace Russia's Putin after a string of curbs on private property and individual freedoms. China is a partner even as it cracks down on dissidents. The policies of Saudi Arabia on women's rights and religious tolerance go all but unmentioned. And while Time magazine approvingly notes what it calls the end of cowboy diplomacy, there is some discontent being heard from the right. In the current Weekly Standard, influential neoconservative Bill Kristol writes of these diplomatic initiatives, quote, "Too bad the cost has been so high, a decline in the president's credibility around the world and sinking support for his foreign policy at home." For now, the administration rhetoric and policy seems to reflect something the president talked about much more as a candidate back in 2000 than as president during his first term, that U.S. foreign policy ought to be guided by a sense of humility. Wolf?
Jeff Greenfield, thank you for that. Still ahead here in the Situation Room, almost $14 billion in taxpayer money has been spent on federal assistance to 9/11 recovery efforts. But how much of that money actually went to those who really need it? We're going to take a closer look. And next, as President Bush prepares to meet with Russian President Putin, why is Vice President Cheney the focus of Putin's latest criticism? We'll discuss that and a lot more with Donna Brazil and Terry Jeffrey. They're standing by for our strategy session.
What happens if your business model changes every 4 hours? Because we consider what might change tomorrow, our customers can feel more relaxed about what might happen today. Zurich, because change happens.
Where do most of America's homeowners keep most of their savings? In their home, their nest egg. And Freddie Mac helps make home ownership possible. Freddie Mac makes mortgage money available so lenders can make more home loans. We've helped over 44 million families own their own home. And since nearly 20% of America's economy is home and housing related, Freddie Mac also helps strengthen America's future. Freddie Mac, we make home possible. And it's working.
Your risks can change quickly. Make sure your insurance stays in sync. Travelers.
Hello, I'm a Mac. And I'm a PC. We've got a little network going here, and it was very easy to set up. We speak each other's language. We share our internet connection. There are all sorts of things we do together. Who's this now?
Oh, this is that new digital camera from Japan. Just came out. Hajimemashite.
Hajimemashite.
Yoroshiku onegaishimasu.
Wait. You speak her language?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Everything just kind of works with a Mac. Arigato.
ねえねえねえ、誰あんたさ、オタクっぽくない？
Buongiorno. Hello.
The unexpected, the unforeseen, the unimaginable. It's all possible in the future. CNN explores the next decade to discover tomorrow's solutions to today's issues. From the high cost of a college education to saving for retirement, is America spending now only to pay later? Welcome to the future, a special series all next week on CNN. Sponsored by LearnAboutCoal.org.
Welcome back to the Situation Room. I'm Wolf Blitzer in Washington. Let's get back to our top story. The escalating tensions and violence in the Middle East right now after the abduction of 2 more Israeli soldiers, this time along the Israeli-Lebanese border, the radical group Hezbollah doing that. The U.S. laying direct blame, though, on Syria and Iran, urging Lebanon to work to solve the problem. Syria and Iran, the U.S. government says, supports Hezbollah. Joining us now from West Palm Beach in Florida is the former Secretary of State, Alexander Haig. Do you agree with the White House, Mr. Secretary, that Syria and Iran, which support Hezbollah, should really be responsible for what has happened today along the border with Israel?
Oh, there's no question about it. There never has been any question about it. I don't know why anyone would question the U.S. government. We have good intelligence on that situation, and this is a long-standing problem. It's clear that Lebanon is not a sovereign state. It was relinquished some years ago when I was Secretary of State and left the administration because of it. These are things that are very, very clear and have been for many, many months.
Why would Syria and Iran right now want to start trouble with Israel?
Well, they'd want to do it because Israel is now fully occupied with the territories they've just relinquished. And in hindsight, I guess it would have been better if they had kept their forces in there until they saw whether or not the people that were going to govern in Palestine were going to be truly interested in peace rather than the destruction of Israel. But that hasn't happened. And now we're confronting a situation where they're going to be inching missiles farther in to Israeli territory, and Israel just can't take it. It doesn't have the strategic depth, and it's going to have to take action. So this is a diversion to try to remind them, and this is, of course, Iran and Syria, which is largely controlled today by Iran, and Lebanon, which has no sovereignty at all to speak of, because we've let that happen as well. So all of these things are converging, and now Israel has no more flexibility. They're going to have to take action unless things is resolved peacefully, and it doesn't look like there's a mood to do that quite yet.
You referred to your experience when you were Secretary of State during the Reagan administration in Lebanon. What should the current Bush administration be doing now, assuming, as a lot of analysts do assume, that Israel is going to take its forces, ground forces, air power, and move into southern Lebanon to look for those captured Israeli soldiers?
Well, I think there's not very much they can do unless they have an alternative for Israel to be able to live in peace with its neighbors. After all, this is all incited by the other side, not Israel. Why are we asking Israel to risk its own survival by turning the other cheek in a situation which is an act of war?
So the U.S. policy should be right now just down the line support for the government of Prime Minister Ehud Olmert?
Well, it's never down the line support. The Americans always have an obligation to speak as a friend to a friend. And we do, and we will. And I'm very confident that the situation is not all as grim as it might look at the moment. We also have the economic summit coming up where the Soviet Union, which is a former Soviet Union, is really been a prime mischief maker throughout the Middle East and continues to be that, has some very important other axes to grind. And we're going to have to see how it all turns out rather than rush into panic. But we've got to stick with with our ally, our historic ally, and those whom we have an obligation to support. It's in our interest to do so.
Do you see a common thread running through this now escalating crisis between the Israelis and the Palestinians and Lebanon, if you will, as far as the regional situation with Iran, Syria, Iraq, and elsewhere in this bigger picture is concerned?
Well, it's always been that way, Wolf. This is a world that we have friends and we have those that don't share our values or interests. And it's interests, not values, that decide a good foreign policy. And until we return to a foreign policy where interests are sharing ideology as our goal, then we're going to have trouble. And I think that's beginning to happen, and I very much welcome it.
Finally, before I let you go, a quick assessment. Will the U.S. be able to resolve the standoff with North Korea right now peacefully?
Well, it's too early to say, but there's still much to be done there as well. After all, China doesn't want a conflict on its border. That's going to bring about the very outcome it fears the most, and that's a flood of refugees into the Chinese territories. They don't want that. They also want to be recognized as a peacemaker, not a troublemaker, in a region that there are very, very severe conflicting interests emerging.
Alexander Haig, the former Secretary of State, thanks for coming into the Situation Room.
Thank you.
In our strategy session, President Bush in Europe right now, getting ready for the G8 summit, facing a new explosion of violence in the Middle East and a host of other international problems. And the columnist Robert Novak sharing some of his secrets in the CIA leak case. Two subjects for our strategy session. Joining us, our CNN political analyst and Democratic strategist Donna Brazil, and Terry Jeffrey, the editor of Human Events Online. Guys, thanks very much for coming in. This Bush trip to Germany now, then he's heading to St. Petersburg in Russia for the G8 summit. It comes as tensions all over the world seem to be escalating. Donna, it poses, I guess, a great challenge for the president, but also potentially an opportunity.
Well, I think it's both a challenge and an opportunity. Well, look, last week the president in Chicago outlined, what I believe is a new strategy to focus on diplomacy. He has a lot of work to do next week in trying to convince his partners to focus on Iraq, to focus on Iran, to focus on North Korea. Of course, energy security is a major issue for this G8 summit, but also I think the president has to tell Mr. Putin that some of the anti-democratic initiatives that he's undertaken as president must be corrected. So this is a big meeting for the president.
I don't know if you saw the interview that Matt Lauer did on the Today Show this morning, Terry, with Vladimir Putin, in which Putin didn't back down at all from any of the criticism, and he leveled right back at the vice president, Dick Cheney. I think we have a clip from that. Let's listen.
I think your vice president's expression there is like his bad shot on his hunting trip.
The vice president had taken a shot at Putin earlier, complaining about some of the clamping down of democratic reforms within Russia. Putin not backing down at all.
Right. He's also complaining about Russia using its oil as a weapon against some of the former states of the Soviet Union that are close in, like Ukraine or Georgia. The Cold War is over. Russia is reasserting itself as an international power. They have interests. The U.S. has interests. As Secretary Haig was saying, sometimes nations pursue their interests. We have a lot of shared interests with Russia. Particularly, they have an interest in integrating themselves into the Western economy, Wolf. That's why it's fortuitous that the G8 summit is taking place in St. Petersburg. On the other hand, we have an interest in Russia and Vladimir Putin helping us with Iran, which is moving towards developing nuclear weapons, and helping us with North Korea. They seem to have come on board a little bit with Iran, but we have to see how that plays out. They haven't helped us at all in North Korea. So hopefully the president will get progress on those two fronts.
We'll see what he does on that. Let's talk a little bit about Robert Novak, the syndicated columnist, our former colleague here at CNN. He wrote a column and appeared in the Washington Post and other newspapers today around the country, in which he disclosed much more than he's disclosed before, but he's still not telling us who his original source was that told him, basically gave him the tip to go hunt for Joe Wilson's wife, Valerie Plame Wilson. What did you learn from this column that you read in the Post this morning?
Well, I learned that Bob may have broke his silence, but we still don't know who broke the law, who his primary source was in leaking the name of Valerie Plame. While he could find the name in the who's who, according to his column, he didn't know. Someone told him that she was a CIA agent.
Sounds, Terry, like someone said to him, Joe Wilson, he was on a boondoggle. He got this trip because his wife works at the CIA, and then, but didn't mention the name of the wife. And then Bob Novak began to do what a journalist does, began to connect the dots.
Well, there's no question Bob Novak is an excellent journalist. He's proved that in a long, long career. Wolf, he said in his column, first of all, that the senior administration source who first told him about Wilson's wife had done it inadvertently. Secondly, he's said for a long time that he actually looked up her name and who's who. Something Donna said, I think, is incorrect. She said, we don't know who committed the crime yet. The fact of the matter is, as Novak's column gives us more evidence, Patrick Fitzgerald conducted a very aggressive investigation. He knew exactly who Novak's sources were, including the original source. He did not charge that person with a crime because that person did not commit a crime. Meanwhile, Scooter Libby's crime that he has been charged with, that he's been alleged to have committed, is perjury and obstruction of justice in a grand jury. not leaking Valerie Plame's name.
And lying to FBI agents, which is a serious charge as well.
It's
a serious crime, and it's also a crime to identify and leak the name of a CIA covert agent. So that is a crime, and the president in the White House at first distanced himself from this investigation and said no one was involved in the White House. Now we learned that Karl Rove was a secondary source of this information.
Bob Novak called up Rove to try and confirm this, but the fact of the matter is Victoria Tonsing, who is a counsel at the Intelligence Committee in the Senate, when the Agents Identity Protection Act was written, has said, and I believe she's absolutely right, that this law did not apply to Valerie Plame or leaking her name to a reporter. That is why Patrick Fitzgerald did not charge anyone with that crime. It simply was not a crime.
Here's what the president said on September 30th, 2003, shortly after all of this erupted. Listen to what he said.
If there's a leak out of my administration, I want to know who it is. If the person has violated law, the person will be taken care of.
How did you interpret what the president said and his actions subsequent to that?
Well, the president clearly has flip-flopped. I mean, in that interview, the president made it clear that once he uncovered if anyone leaked in his administration, he would fire him. And we now know that Karl Rove still has his job and he still has his security clearance.
He didn't say if someone committed a crime, they would fire him. If somebody leaked, they would be fired.
Well, you know, I believe that Novak is telling the truth about how he got this information. It was inadvertently given to him in the course of a long interview with a senior administration official. In other words, this person didn't have an animus against Valerie Plame or Joe Wilson. They weren't bringing in Novak and saying, here, Bob, take this and put it in the newspaper. It was inadvertent. I don't think that was a leak. It was a mistake.
Mr. Harlow, the
former CIA spokesman.
He stated that he told Bob Novak not to put her name in that article, and it's clear that Bob went ahead and put her name in that article.
Well, Novak says he remembers that differently, and so they have a conflicting story there.
Well, we'll see what else comes out in the next few days. Appreciate both of you coming into the Situation Room. Thank you very much. And up next, news coming into CNN right now. We're going to go back to Israel, where we're hearing the Israeli cabinet has now authorized what's being described as a severe response to the abduction of those 2 Israeli soldiers by Hezbollah along the border with Lebanon. We're going to go back and have details. Also coming up, has the healthcare industry had a change of heart when it comes to Senator Hillary Clinton? We'll examine the senator's lucrative new relationship with doctors, hospitals, and drug makers. And could there possibly be a connection between Homeland Security and a center for kangaroos? We're looking into new questions about security spending, your tax dollars at work. Stay with us. You're in the Situation Room.
Because financial solutions have no borders or boundaries, UBS operates in only 2 locations. Everywhere. And right next to you. You and us. UBS.
Work with that left hand.
Thanks for the dress, Mom.
Simple, everyday moments can be the perfect time to talk to your kids about not smoking, so you don't have to plan a big discussion.
Look, there's a dragonfly on one of the rollers.
Just your leg? A little moment will do just fine.
Looks really
Talk to your kids about not smoking.
Smoking cigarettes can hurt your game too.
They'll listen.
Don't worry, Dad. I won't.
For conversation starters, log on to philipmorrisusa.com.
My name is Andrea Heisler, and this is my story. I facilitate communication between 2 people who can't normally communicate. I started having joint pain in my wrist. I would avoid certain signs, like last night would hurt my wrist. I took some Aleve I could actually move my wrist. The one cool thing about my job is everyone's always happy to see me. The leave worked great.
Still have an adjustable mortgage? Refinance now to a low fixed rate from Ditech.com. We'll also guarantee you the lowest rate and fee. At Ditech, refinancing is quick and easy, even if your credit is less than perfect. Log on or call 1-800-71-FIXED.
This is fantastic.
Are you sure?
Would you like to be a Publishers Clearinghouse winner tomorrow? You can if you go to PCH.com right now.
I am flabbergasted.
Enter today, win tomorrow.
Yeah, girl, they're here.
This summer, you could be a millionaire.
Tonight on 360, tightening the noose on a fugitive polygamist by targeting his flock. Followers of Warren Jeffs now facing justice, some facing prison. We'll hear from an ex-follower whose testimony is bringing them down. Tonight, 360, 10 p.m. Eastern.
We're getting more on the really escalating tensions rocking the Middle East right now. Let's go back to Jerusalem. CNN's Paula Hancock standing by with the latest developments. Paula, what has just happened?
Well, Wolf, a special cabinet meeting has just ended and Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert has authorized military action in southern Lebanon. We have been seeing that for the past day. He has said he will carry out a severe response against these Hezbollah attacks, which left 8 Israeli soldiers dead and 2 Israeli soldiers kidnapped. Now, we have also heard from Dan Halutz, the chief of staff, earlier on telling Israeli media that he is willing to take Lebanon back 20 years if they continue with these attacks. We're also hearing from this cabinet meeting that they are going to carry out attacks to prevent future attacks against the Israeli people. So not giving any details about what exactly these attacks will entail, but certainly saying there will be a severe response. Olmert once again saying he holds the Lebanese government responsible for the attacks early this Wednesday morning. Wolf?
Earlier, the Bush administration said they hold Iran and Syria responsible as well. Paula, stand by. We're going to have a lot more on this story. We're watching it minute by minute. Much more coming up at the top of the hour right here in the Situation Room. Another story we're watching involving severe weather. Jackie Jarris is watching that story for us. What's the latest development on that front, Jackie?
Well, Wolf, we had a possible tornado touchdown in upstate New York, and it sounds like it caused some damage to some buildings. The town is called Hawthorne. It's just north of the White Plains area. There you can see the possible tornado as it pulled on through. The National Weather Service is reporting that a building was damaged and people are trapped. CNN has spoken with local authorities. They say they're not sure whether or not anybody is trapped in that building, but they are confirming that there has been some damage with this storm. There was a tornado warning in effect around the top of the hour. At the time that this happened, the storm is now weakening and heading across southern parts of Connecticut, but a tornado watch remains in effect across the area throughout the rest of the afternoon. Wolf?
All right, we'll continue to watch this story with you as well, Jackie. Thank you. Coming up here in the Situation Room, does U.S. envoy Chris Hill have progress to report in his efforts to deal with the North Korea missile standoff? He's going to be our guest live here in the Situation Room, 7 p.m. Eastern. He'll be joining us from Beijing. Also, when Hillary Clinton lived in the White House, she made some enemies in the healthcare industry. A lot of us remember that. Is she making new friends now that she's mulling a presidential campaign of her own? Stay with us.
There are more than 29 million Americans without insurance who need help paying for their medicines. That's why there's the Partnership for Prescription Assistance. Through this free service, people who need help can call 1-888-4PPA now to see if they may qualify. Many get their medicines for free or nearly free, and I'm talking more than 2,500 brand name and generic medicines. Do you need help? Write down the number you see. It's your medicine. It's your life. It's your time to call.
Your business is on the move, and we're there for you every step of the way. We are Verizon Business. We're there for you with a global IP network that is flexible and secure. A network you can access how and where you need it. There with the expertise to help design and manage your most critical data solutions end to end. And at Verizon Business, we're there for you in the most important way, with a dedicated team that's personally and passionately committed to your success. People who are accountable for making it all work for you. global capability with personal accountability. That works. Verizon Business.
eLoan's loan consultants don't make money based on the rate of your loan, so you get the rate you deserve. No wonder home buyers are so excited about eLoan. That's just one of the revolutionary ways we're changing the lending industry. eLoan, radically simple.
You should think about killing the mold in here, big guy.
How's that work for you? There's a better way to deal with your mold problem. Big guy? Tilex, the mold killer.
10 years after TWA Flight 800 exploded, what are airline passengers not being told? A special 2-hour investigation.
Why are passengers still at risk?
CNN presents No Survivors. Saturday and Sunday night, 7 Eastern.
Welcome back on Capitol Hill. Today, lawmakers are putting a spotlight on allegations of very wasteful spending, or worse, in response to the 9/11 attacks nearly 5 years ago. Let's bring in our congressional correspondent, Andrea Koppel. Andrea?
Wolf, this is the first of 3 hearings that will be held here on the Hill this week, all focused on a similar theme, focusing on the response, the recovery, and the rebuilding of Lower Manhattan.
Almost 5 years after terrorists attacked the World Trade Towers, the federal government has spent close to $14 billion to help New York respond and recover. There have been plenty of allegations of waste, fraud, and abuse, but Homeland Security Chairman Congressman Peter King says it wasn't until he saw how FEMA mishandled Hurricane Katrina that he decided Congress needed to investigate FEMA's role in post-9/11.
I felt it was important as a New Yorker and as chairman of the committee to look into exactly what happened in the aftermath of September 11th, what went wrong, what went right, and also apply that to other tragedies such as Katrina.
In the 6 months since King and his colleagues launched their review, they say they've received over 1,100 complaints, resulting in approximately 250 investigations, the majority related to fraudulent applications for help with paying mortgages, rents, and unemployment assistance. One scheme involved 2 people, each of whom claimed $10,000 worth of damage to their personal property from smoke and debris they said filled their apartments, about 35 blocks away from the World Trade Center site. Today's hearing, the first of 3 scheduled this week, was focused on the immediate response to 9/11. One government witness pledged not to repeat the mistakes of the past.
The government must learn from these costly lessons and make fraud prevention a high priority for future disasters.
But even before then, these lessons learned can still prove useful in the post-9/11 recovery and rebuilding, Wolf. In fact, the federal government has yet to spend another $6 billion that Congress approved back in 2001. Wolf?
Andrea Koppel on the Hill, thank you. And we're also picking up new details on how the Homeland Security Department doles out anti-terrorism dollars. It's based in part on the National Asset Database, a system that breaks down state-by-state possible terrorist targets. So how did petting zoos and high-stakes bingo make the list? Our internet reporter Abby Tatton is standing by with details. Abby?
Wolf, the Kangaroo Conservation Center, that's one of about 1,500 sites in Georgia that appear on this Homeland Security list. And the Department of Homeland Security's own Inspector General has examined the list and is questioning what it's calling non-critical assets. Not just the kangaroos, a petting zoo, a apple and pork festival in Illinois, a Tennessee Mule Day parade. This report criticizes these inclusions, saying the database does not accurately represent key sites nationwide that could be terror targets, and also it's making the allocation of resources difficult. It's also questioning the number of assets that different states submitted. Look at Indiana there with over 8,000. That's 50% more than New York, where lawmakers have recently criticized terror funding cuts. The Department of Homeland Security, in a response, defended the database, saying it's supposed to be an inventory, not a prioritized list. They are, however, improving guidelines given to states on what is critical. Wolf?
Abby, thank you. And still to come, Jack Cafferty wondering what it means that the U.S. Army is now ending its contracts with Halliburton. He's standing by with the Cafferty File. Plus, Senator Hillary Clinton and the healthcare industry. Our senior political analyst, Bill Schneider, will show us what's bringing this odd couple together. Stay with us.
Head on, apply directly to the forehead. Head on, apply directly to the forehead. Head on, apply directly to the forehead. Head on is available without a prescription at retailers nationwide. New from the makers of Head On, introducing Activon. Joint and muscle pain, Activon. Apply directly where it hurts. Activon Joint and Muscle, available at Walgreens.
Freedom from hemorrhoids? Freedom Hemorrhoid Cream. Freedom from hemorrhoids? Freedom Hemorrhoid Cream. Freedom from hemorrhoids? Freedom Hemorrhoid Cream. Available at Walgreens, CVS, and Rite Aid.
Tonight on 360, tightening the noose on a fugitive polygamist by targeting his flock. We'll hear from an ex-follower whose testimony is bringing them down. Tonight, 360.
VHIX.com helps people find the car they want at a dealer near them. How do we improve that user experience?
Include a vanity mirror so people can get an idea of how they look in their new car. Give them a free VHIX comb, too.
And your idea?
VHIX TV. Not just web pages, cool video test drives powered by Wheels TV.
Cool video test drives, now at VHIX.com. Just click Autos on Comcast.net.
Some of the rarest, most beautiful, and most sought-after gold coins in history were not even known to exist until a few short years ago. But now, Monaco Financial, one of the nation's leading rare coin firms, announces the availability of a very limited number of truly historic and truly magnificent gold coins minted during the 1850s California Gold Rush. These rare $20 gold double eagles, private assayer, and territorial gold coins, and more, are now available for acquisition by those who can appreciate this historic numismatic opportunity. Call Monaco Financial now for this free catalog of rare gold coins and other treasure recovered from the 1857 shipwreck of the SS Central America. Call 1-800-283-6161 now for your free Monaco Financial Gold Rush Treasure Catalog. That's 1-800-283-6161. Own a piece of history. Call Monaco for your free catalog now.
Check out the new hit movies you can order on demand, and look what you can order right now.
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard.
From the makers of Scary Movie.
Idiot! Hell no, I won't marry you. Go!
Date Movie, now on demand.
Oh my God.
The pulse-pounding thriller Firewall is now available.
I'm done talking.
Don't miss it. Hit movies without the trip to the video store. On demand with Comcast Digital Cable.
CNN, the most trusted name in news.
There's a developing story we're following in Houston, Texas. Let's go back to CNN's Frederica Whitfield at the CNN Center. What's the latest, Fred?
Well, our affiliate KHOU in Houston is reporting that in Harris County on Winfield, somehow a 55-gallon drum containing hydrobromic acid has been punctured at a warehouse there. About 200 people have been exposed. This chemical is known to be one of the strongest mineral acids known, and because of the exposure to these 200 or so people, now a number of metro buses are being brought in to help provide some sort of air conditioning triage. We don't know exactly what and how this drum was punctured, just that it has been and that many people have been exposed, and these are the measures that are being taken right now.
We'll continue to watch it. Thanks very much, Fred. We'll get more information and bring it to our viewers. Back when she was First Lady, Hillary Clinton made a bad first impression on the healthcare industry. But the times have changed now that she's a U.S. Senator and a possible presidential hopeful. Let's bring in our senior political analyst, Bill Schneider. Bill?
Wolf, they say politics makes strange bedfellows. They don't come much stranger than Senator Hillary Clinton and the healthcare industry.
Private health insurance.
Remember the Harry and Louise ads from 1994?
Congress isn't passing the health care reform America wants.
The health insurance industry used those ads to help defeat First Lady Hillary Clinton's health care plan. Now the New York Times reports that Senator Hillary Clinton ranks second among candidates in contributions from the health care industry, more than $850,000. Senator Clinton has proposed legislation to increase Medicare payments to healthcare providers and to lower the cost of malpractice insurance. She's even worked with Newt Gingrich to improve healthcare information technology.
I know it's a bit of an odd fellow or odd woman mix, but Speaker Gingrich and I have been talking about health care and national security actually now for several years.
So why is Senator Clinton raising so much money from the healthcare industry? We asked a prominent Washington lawyer.
There's no quid pro quo. You're not buying access. You want your friends elected or reelected.
Does the healthcare industry consider Hillary Clinton a friend?
Yes, I would say she's a friend of the healthcare industry in the sense that she understands it, okay? She's had a lot of experience in it.
She probably knows the healthcare system, what's good and bad about it, better than any other senator. Oh, and one more thing, power.
All industries, I think, including healthcare, are reaching out to her because they expect her to be the nominee in 2008.
The healthcare industry knows she's likely to be a major player.
You know, I've done a little bit of work on healthcare myself and still have the scars to show for it.
To paraphrase something British statesman Lord Palmerston once said, in politics, there are no permanent friends and no permanent enemies. There are only permanent interests. Wolf?
Bill Schneider, thanks for that. Bill Schneider, part of the best political team on television, CNN, America's campaign headquarters. Still to come, raging flames, dry land, and hot winds challenging firefighters in Southern California. We'll have a live report on the fight against a threatening wildfire. And what does it mean that the U.S. Army is ending its contract with Halliburton? Jack Cafferty will be back with your email. Stay with us.
Closed captioning hours on CNN, sponsored in part by LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win.
When you refinance at LendingTree.com, you can save up to $200 a month with a lower rate. Just think what you can do with the money. When banks compete, you win at LendingTree.com.
Good day. See you tonight.
Okay.
Introducing the new Suzuki Grand Vitara. You want more out of life? Suzuki's giving you the green light. Go!
Get home delivery of the New York Times, now in more U.S. locations than ever before.
It tells me in depth what I want to know.
Even if you don't live in New York, I think it's great to get the New York Times.
Get home delivery of the New York Times at 50% off. Call 1-800-909-5577.
It gives you the national perspective.
They're worldwide, really.
Science time, science and leisure.
The sports, I clip articles, I clip recipes.
It's just a useful tool.
Make your day richer with the New York Times. Get home delivery at 50% off, as low as $2.50 a week.
The New York Times really tries to get at the truth.
I respect the Times.
It's aerobics for the brain.
Sort of the how to, when to, where to.
I started reading the New York Times when I was 7 years old. It's part of my family tradition.
It's concise, it's evocative. It makes me feel like I'm in the know.
Get home delivery at 50% off for 12 weeks, as low as $2.50 a week.
I feel like there's a broader scope.
It's fun to read.
It helps keep me inspired.
Now get home delivery in even more U.S. locations. Call 1-800-909-5577 for the New York Times at 50% off.
There's the Times and there's everything else.
Check back with Jack. He's got the Cafferty file. Jack.
The question this hour is, what does it mean that the Army is ending its contract with Halliburton? James, Sergeant First Class, U.S. Army Infantry in Denton, Texas. As a soldier who recently completed a 13-month tour in Iraq, I applaud the decision to make the field wide open. With competition, the price for the taxpayer will go down. The quality for the military personnel in theater will go up. A win-win situation for all of us. Larry in Astoria, New York writes, it means nothing now. It's too late. It's normal for a blood-sucking leech to fall off. Once it's so bloated, it can't possibly take another drop. Why do you think we went to war in the first place? Gene in Dallas writes, Jack, do you really think the Army makes a decision without a direction from the top of the Pentagon? It means Rumsfeld doesn't want Halliburton to be an issue for this year's election. Stephen in Springfield, Virginia writes, it means the company with the lowest bid will get the contract. If Halliburton gets it, then they get it. Jack, why do you always have to have some sort of conspiracy? This is just good business. Yeah. Tim in Beverly, Massachusetts. It means the Republicans are afraid of losing control of at least one house of Congress, and they're trying to muddy the waters before the inevitable and long overdue congressional oversight hearings finally begin. And Janet in Tacoma, Washington writes, with the mess the budget's in, the Army was forced to stop shopping at Neiman Marcus and now must visit Kmart in order to get a decent deal, just like the rest of us. Wolf?
Jack, thanks very much. And to our viewers, you're in the Situation Room where new pictures and information are arriving all the time. Standing by, CNN reporters across the United States and around the world to bring you today's top stories. Happening now, killings, kidnappings, and vows of revenge. It's midnight in Gaza and in Lebanon, where Israel is unleashing an all-out assault on Palestinian militants and Hezbollah guerrillas. In Gaza, strikes to rescue an Israeli soldier. In Lebanon, 2 other Israeli troops are being held captive. Israel calls that an act of war. The end of what some are calling a billion-dollar boondoggle. It's 3 p.m. in Texas, where a Halliburton subsidiary sees its exclusive contract in Iraq pulled. Halliburton is the company once run by the vice president, Dick Cheney. And it's 2 p.m. in Southern California, where a raging wildfire is swallowing up the land. It's already scorched some 26,000 acres. Now residents are running for their lives. I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room. Right now, the world's hotspots are reaching full boil, and world leaders are pondering how to respond. On North Korea's recent missile launches, today China and Russia offering a new UN Security Council resolution different from the one already proposed by Japan. Yet the Security Council has already decided what to do regarding Iran. The 5 permanent members will send Iran back before the Security Council for possible sanctions over its nuclear program. And in the Middle East, Israel is battling Palestinian militants in Gaza and the Hezbollah in Lebanon. 2 Israeli troops are being held there, and Israel calls that an act of war. The Israeli Defense Forces telling an Israeli TV channel that if the soldiers captured by Hezbollah are not returned, Israel will, quote, turn Lebanon's clock back 20 years. Let's get some more now from CNN correspondent John Voss. He's on the border between Israel and Lebanon. You're on the Israeli side, right, John?
That's right, Wolf. And from here, Israel has launched airstrikes and artillery rounds targeting Hezbollah training camps and buildings in the southern part of Lebanon. Roads and bridges have also been bombed. A short time ago, the Israeli cabinet approved a severe response, but says the military operation will be gradually escalated to pressure the Lebanese government. This is an offensive by land, sea and air, with the head of Israel's Northern Command warning that all of Lebanon is now a legitimate target. So far, 8 Israeli soldiers have been killed since this all began earlier today. 3 were killed in the initial attack in which the 2 Israelis were taken hostage. Another 4 died when their tank hit an explosive just inside Lebanese territory. An 8th soldier was killed by gunfire trying to rescue them. Here in northern Israel, residents have been ordered into bomb shelters after Hezbollah fired dozens of Katyusha rockets and mortars. At least 4 people were wounded. Israel's Prime Minister Ehud Olmert says this goes way beyond an act of terrorism, and he's accused the Lebanese government of an act of war. But amid the celebrations in Lebanon, the government there says it does not condone the actions of the militants from Hezbollah, who are now demanding the release of prisoners held by Israel in exchange for the 2 Israeli soldiers. Israel is now facing a hostage crisis on 2 fronts. To the south in Gaza, the Israeli soldier Gilad Shalit has been held for more than 2 weeks. Hamas militants there are demanding the release of Palestinian prisoners as well. Wolf?
John, how did the Hezbollah capture these 2 Israeli soldiers? Did they cross the border into Israel? What did they do?
This was a routine patrol that the Israeli soldiers were on. They were in armored Humvees. It was a cross-border raid. It looked like it was very well coordinated. Hezbollah fired Katyusha rockets and mortars to begin with. It started at 9 o'clock local time. By 9:05, Hezbollah guerrillas crossed the borders, attacked the patrol, and grabbed the 2 Israeli soldiers, Wolf.
All right, John, stand by. We're going to be coming back to you. John Voss on the border between Israel and Lebanon. Let's go to Germany right now. That's where the President of the United States has just arrived, getting ready for the G8 summit in St. Petersburg. First talks in Germany. Ed Henry's our White House correspondent, traveling with the President. How is the White House, officials traveling with the President, Ed, responding to these escalating tensions along the Israeli-Lebanese border?
Well, Wolf, just about an hour or so ago when the President arrived, even before that, there had been a very tough statement put out by the White House basically blasting Iran and Syria directly, blaming them, putting the blame for this escalating violence squarely at their doorstep, saying that they're supporting Hezbollah, and that is the reason for this escalating violence. I just spoke to a senior official here, adding a little more context that basically the White House sees an opportunity here to really pounce on Iran in particular as a bad actor. They're already going after Iran because of their thirst for nuclear weapons. The White House sees an opportunity here to repeat the presidential mantra, the new one of diplomacy, diplomacy, diplomacy. We're going to hear that in Germany. We're going to hear it then in Russia for the G8 summit. But obviously, given the fact that all these hotspots around the world are bubbling up, if diplomacy does not provide any breakthroughs from Gaza to North Korea to Iran, there's going to be a lot more pressure on this president to come up with more than just diplomacy, Wolf.
All right, Ed, thank you very much. Ed Henry reporting for us. He's traveling with the president. Let's go back to Jerusalem. Government spokesman Gideon Meir is joining us now live from Jerusalem. Thanks very much for coming in. How serious is this current crisis right now? We hear words that there's going to be a severe Israeli response. What can you tell us?
I think it's very serious, and as you rightly said, there's going to be a severe Israeli response because we cannot tolerate this kind of attack. And within 2 weeks, we actually witnessing the same modus operandi, whether it's in the Gaza Strip or in the northern part of Israel, in our border with Lebanon. What happened here? About 10 months ago, Israel withdrew from the Gaza Strip. There is no presence of Israeli, neither soldiers or settlers in the Gaza Strip. We withdrew from South Lebanon. The international community recognized the international border. Israel implemented United Nations Resolution 425. And actually, the Security Council and the international community demanded that the Hezbollah terror organization will be dismantled by the Lebanese government, which is a sovereign government of Lebanon. And therefore, what our Prime Minister said today, that we see the government of Lebanon as responsible for what happened this morning on the border between Israel and Lebanon.
What does it mean when the Israeli cabinet authorizes a severe response? Because that could mean a lot. What does it mean from your perspective?
From our perspective, it means that the Hezbollah will have to pay a price for its aggression. It was an unprovoked aggression, the same unprovoked aggression that we witnessed in Gaza. And unprovoked aggressions will have to be responded by the Israeli government. And Wolf, you will not expect me right now on the air to spell out what Israel is exactly going to do in the next hours or the next coming days. But we have to expect a very severe response by our defense forces.
The Lebanese ambassador to the United States was on CNN earlier today, and he said this. He said, we have our prisoners, they have prisoners, an exchange would be appropriate, and I think it will resolve the problem. Is Israel open today to an exchange between Israel and Lebanon, Israel and Hezbollah, along the lines of what Israel has done in the past?
Absolutely not. We expect our servicemen, whether it's Gilad Shalit in the Gaza Strip or the 2 servicemen which were kidnapped this morning from Israeli soil in a mafia-style operation, we expect them to be returned to us live and safely, immediately, without any precondition, no negotiation. Because negotiation what will happen, it will lead to another kidnapping. This is a method of terrorism which comes out from the school of terrorism headquartered in Damascus and Tehran.
Last week, the Israeli Air Force flew over Latakia, the summer residence of the Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, clearly a signal to the government in Damascus. Today, the U.S. government, the Bush administration, saying that Syria and Iran have responsibility for what has happened. What are you planning on doing as far as Syria and Iran are concerned?
Again, Wolf, I will not go into any operational the modus operandi of the Israeli Defense Forces, but I think it's enough when we are saying that the excess of terror and hatred goes through the two capitals of Syria and Iran.
Let me give you one more quote from Hassan Nasrallah, the Hezbollah leader in Lebanon. He said this: "No military operation will return the abducted Israeli soldiers. The prisoners will not be returned except through one-way, indirect negotiations and a trade." Was it a mistake years ago for Israel to have those lopsided exchanges, hundreds of Palestinian prisoners released for 2 or 3 Israeli soldiers?
I'm not here. I'm representing the Israeli government. I don't think it would be right in my position to say whether it was right or wrong. We hear the voices here in Israel, which were also voices in the past, voices today, which said it was a mistake. What I can say is what is the policy of the Israeli government today, and the policy today is no negotiation. The return of the 3 servicemen immediately without any precondition.
Gideon Meir is a government spokesman in Jerusalem. Thanks very much for coming in to the Situation Room. Let's go to New York right now. Jack Cafferty standing by with the Cafferty File. Jack?
Well, guess what? Karl Rove, turns out, was a source in the CIA leak case after all. That's according to columnist Robert Novak, who broke the original story. He says that Rove, President Bush's chief strategist, confirmed the identity of CIA operative Valerie Plame. So far, the White House has declined to comment on any of this. But remember when President Bush said this?
If there's a leak out of my administration, I want to know who it is. If the person has violated law, the person will be taken care of.
Oh, please. Meanwhile, the president continues to insist how dangerous leaks about the government's NSA and banking surveillance programs are. So let me see if I understand this. It's a threat to national security to leak information about the administration's secret and possibly illegal surveillance programs, but it's okay for one of Mr. Bush's closest political allies to confirm the identity of a CIA operative. Is that about it? Here's the question. Now that Karl Rove has been identified as a source in the CIA leak case, what should happen to him? Email us at CaffertyFile@CNN.com or go to CNN.com/CaffertyFile. Wolf.
Jack, thank you. Jack Cafferty reporting. And if you want a sneak preview, by the way, of Jack's questions, plus an early read on the day's political news and what's ahead here in the Situation Room, sign up for our daily email alert. Just go to CNN.com/Situation Room. Up ahead, dozens of homes destroyed, thousands of acres burned, a Southern California wildfire burning out of control right now. We'll take you live to the fire lines. Also, Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld in Iraq, visiting as violence surges across the country. We'll have the latest. Plus, new developments in the giant and controversial Pentagon contract that went to Vice President Dick Cheney's old company. Stay with us. You're in the Situation Room.
One summer day, the town awoke to drifts of delicious Splenda no-calorie sweetener. Splenda tastes like sugar because it's made from sugar, but without all the calories to spoil the joy. That's the magic of Splendaville.
Hello, I'm a Mac.
And I'm a PC.
Ready to get started?
Well, not quite. Got a lot to do. What's your big plan?
I might make a home movie or maybe create a website, try out my built-in camera. I can do it all right out of the box, so what about you?
Well, first I got to download those new drivers, and I got to erase the trial software that came on my hard drive.
Sweet.
And I've got a lot of manuals to read.
You know, it sounds like you have a lot of stuff to do before you do any stuff, so I'm just going to get started because I'm kind of excited. Let me know when you're ready.
Actually, the rest of me's in some other boxes, so
I'll meet up with you later.
You've won $1 million in the Publishers Clearinghouse. You've won.
No.
Yes.
Would you like to be a Publishers Clearinghouse winner tomorrow? Now you can, because there's a new winner every day.
I never knew it'd come true.
You could even win $1 million before the summer's over.
God answered my prayers.
Go to PCH.com, enter today, win tomorrow.
And I think you're wasting your time on the computer.
Or watch your mail and enter at once.
I thought it was a gimmick, but it ain't.
This is the summer for you to win.
Larry King Live, exclusive. Dan Rather's first live in-depth interview on his life after CBS. CNN Tonight. After his abrupt departure, what's next? Dan Rather covers it all and takes your calls. Larry King exclusive. Tonight, 9 Eastern, only on CNN.
Tonight on 360, tightening the noose on a fugitive polygamist by targeting his flock. Followers of Warren Jeffs now facing justice, some facing prison. We'll hear from an ex-follower whose testimony is bringing them down. Tonight, 360, 10 p.m. Eastern.
New developments in the North Korean missile crisis. China and Russia are now proposing their own United Nations resolution, an alternative to a Japanese draft resolution that would punish Pyongyang for a series of missile launches last week. Let's get the latest from our senior UN correspondent, Richard Roth. Richard?
Wolf, thunder and lightning right now outside a New York rainstorm. Apropos atmosphere for what's going on inside the UN Security Council. After refusing to support a legally binding resolution on North Korea, China and Russia switched tactics and offered their own version.
We accepted the format of resolution, and we think that is going a long way towards some wishes expressed by some council members.
But the Russian and Chinese draft is softer on sanctions against North Korea and urges rather than demands that North Korea reestablish a moratorium on missile tests. Proponents of the original resolution, the United States and Japan, appreciated the shift by Russia and China, but not necessarily the wording.
A quick glance at the text showed that there are very serious gaps on very important issues.
So the diplomatic deadlock remains. More than a week after the missile launches, the UN Security Council has yet to respond. The U.S.-Japanese camp doesn't think the Russian-China resolution goes far enough in punishing Pyongyang. The U.S. and Japan have been waiting with little result for any positive news from a Chinese delegation's visit to North Korea. The U.S. and Japan insist they are ready to put up their own resolution for a vote. China issued a warning.
If that draft is put to a vote without any modifications, and the instructions from me is to veto it, it's clear.
The hot plate is getting hotter. North Korea has succeeded so far in harming Security Council unity. The Iran nuclear issue has also been referred back to the fractured Security Council.
This is a case, a question of whether the Security Council can handle two concrete cases. Two cases of rogue states that are seeking nuclear weapons and ballistic missile development capabilities that threaten peace and security in their region and peace and security on a worldwide basis.
Ambassador Bolton said the Security Council should consider an act on North Korea first before Iran, but Council Ambassadors Wolf are discussing both nuclear country issues right now. Wolf?
All right, Richard, thanks very much. And coming up in our 7 p.m. Eastern hour, the Bush administration's point man right now on North Korea, the Assistant Secretary of State, Christopher Hill. He'll join us live right here in the Situation Room. He'll be in Beijing. He's working the North Korea crisis. We'll ask him what the latest information is. Mission accomplished. That's how the U.S. Air Force is describing a test of a missile defense system today. Let's bring in our senior Pentagon correspondent, Jamie McIntyre. Jamie?
Well, Wolf, can the U.S. shoot down an incoming ballistic missile? Well, yes, it can, and in more ways than one. The evidence of that came at the White Sands Missile Range today during a test of THAAD. That's Pentagon speak for Terminal High Altitude Area Defense. As we see in the video, the test involved a target missile being hit by a THAAD interceptor missile in the high endo-atmosphere. That's just inside the Earth's atmosphere. The shootdown was designed as a test for the launcher's radars and fire control systems, and the successful intercept was described as a bonus. THAAD is still years away from deployment. It's part of a multi-layered missile defense being developed by the U.S. The idea is the more different systems you have to throw at an incoming missile, the better chance that one of them will work. Wolf?
All right, Jamie, thanks very much. Jamie McIntyre at the Pentagon. And still to come, a raging wildfire in California. It's already scorched 26,000 acres so far. and fearful residents are fleeing for safety right now. And the defense secretary makes a surprise visit to Baghdad, and he does not have positive things to say about the progress of Iraq's police forces. Stay with us. You're in the Situation Room.
Why do I like working here? I'm part of something big. I'm part of the future. I bring people together and send smiles, literally. Michael's my son. We have a good time together. Michael thinks my job is pretty cool. But what I like the most is that Verizon Wireless works as hard for me as I do for our customers. Through our tuition reimbursement program, I earn my certification. As I grow, the company grows. I am Diane Mundy, Verizon Wireless Project Engineer. It's very exciting to be part of something like this.
When it comes to good health, heart disease is a common enemy.
My mother has heart disease. Will I develop it too?
How can I prevent heart disease? Are there new medicines available?
For answers, ask your doctor or visit these websites. Researchers at America's pharmaceutical companies are working on 146 new medicines to fight heart disease and strokes, partnering with healthcare providers to better inform patients about treatment options. Go online and learn, because knowledge is the best medicine of all.
Will there be justice for the wife of a high-profile California defense attorney? Was her murder part of a satanic ritual?
Nancy Grace, Headline Prime.
Do you have difficulty falling asleep and staying asleep at night? Are you 65 years of age or older? A clinical research study is being conducted for an investigational medication for the treatment of insomnia. Qualified participants will receive study-related medication, study-related medical care, and may receive compensation for time and travel. If you are 65 years of age or older and are interested in learning more about this insomnia research study, please call 503-276-6224.
$100,000 your cash rhyme. I'm a sci-fi comedy and I rhyme with snack to the future. Begin.
Snack to the future.
Clack to the future.
Grack to the future.
Don't be a culture fool. Catch up with over 100 free movies on demand with Comcast Digital Cable. It's Comcastic.
Glenn Beck, tonight at 7 and 9 on Headline News Prime.
Happening now, a wildfire burning out of control in the Southern California desert. It's already charred 26,000 acres, destroyed at least 30 homes, and it's threatening many, many more. CNN's Kyung La is joining us now from the Yucca Valley with the latest. How bad is it? It looks awful behind you, Kyung.
It is, but what you're seeing here is actually good news, Wolf. I'm actually standing on the southern edge of this fire, this 26,000-acre fire, and this is good news. Firefighters have had a lot of success setting these backfires. This wind, high heat, and low humidity, they say, is a recipe for wildfire growth, and it is what they have seen today. 26,000 acres, 0% containment, and this fire continues to march north. Firefighters have widened the evacuation area this afternoon to include 100 additional residents of a local canyon community that's just near where we're standing. 1,500 houses are now endangered, and 30 structures, according to the fire department, have been destroyed. We are still waiting to hear if any of those are homes or if they are simply outhouses. We're expecting those in the next hour or so. And here is the bad news, Wolf. Firefighters say that the forecast continues to show dry winds, dry, high heat here in the California desert, which does not bode well for fighting this fire. Wolf?
All right, we'll check back with you, Kyung. Kyung La reporting from the scene. Let's get some more now. We're here in the Situation Room, seeing as Tom Foreman is watching this story develop as well. What are you picking up?
Well, let's get a sense of where this is happening, actually. If you look out at Los Angeles to begin with, since everybody knows where that is, this is right down here on the coast. You move inland from that, eastward about 50 miles. You come to San Bernardino, and then we move out to the Morongo Valley, which is sort of ground zero for what's happening right now. Look at this terrain in here. Steep hills, sharp canyons, high desert. You're talking about in this whole area, 4,000 to to 7,000 feet in altitude. That's enough to make a workout for you if you're there as a firefighter trying to do your work. It's also high desert where you have a lot of dry areas. This is one of the target areas we've been watching very closely. Pioneer Town. This was built back in 1946 as a place for movie sets. A lot of famous movie stars stayed out there. This is the motel they actually stayed in out there. Gene Autry, Roy Rogers, Barbara Stanwyck, folks like that. This is one of the areas people watch very closely because it's a historic site, important particularly in California with the movie making business. But beyond that, people are looking out here to the general Yucca Valley area and of course over here to the Joshua Tree National Monument. Still about 20 miles away. But in these rough canyons where all these things are very dry, it's a tough place to fight fires, tough place to get out of if a fire comes your way.
Let's hope they can contain it. Thanks very much, Tom Foreman in the Situation Room. Coming up, Donald Rumsfeld gets a first-hand look at security nightmares in Iraq after a new and brazen attack. And new details about the terror attack on those commuter trains in India. We're following the investigation and the hunt for the bombers. Stay with us. You're in the Situation Room.
You see a troubled steel business. At Franklin Templeton, we saw a chance to invest in a re-engineered steel company poised for a turnaround, building strong returns for our fund shareholders. Perspective like this has made Mutual Series a leader in value investing. Franklin Templeton Investments. Gain from our perspective. Ask your advisor for a prospectus with investment goals, risks, fees, expenses, and other information to read and consider carefully before investing.
Kerr-McGee launched the world's first cell spar. But what you can see is only the tip of the technology. Because Red Hawk pierces a mile of deep water, plus 2 miles more into the seafloor, to recover America's energy for Americans. Energy that without Kerr-McGee's deep water solutions might forever belong to the deep. Nobody rules the deep water like the explorers of Kerr-McGee.
How you doing, sir? Orientation, 7th floor. Sign in, please.
If you're a new full-time employee.
We've got the Q4 numbers. Germany looks good.
A people-ready business knows that every person it hires is an investment. With the right software, they'll be ready to hit the ground running from day one.
Ditech.com can save you thousands of dollars in closing costs.
With our previous refinances, we ended up paying a lot in closing costs. This time, we went to Ditech, and it was only $395.
Log on or call 1-800-71-FIXED.
Welcome back to the Situation Room. I'm Wolf Blitzer in Washington. Today, the Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld made an unexpected trip to Iraq. The Defense Secretary says the development of Iraqi security forces has been uneven, his word, and that Army forces are further along than Iraqi police forces. That help is badly needed to try to stem the unyielding violence. For more on all of this, let's bring in our senior international correspondent, Nick Robertson in Baghdad. Nick?
Wolf, the most troubling outbreak of violence today came from the town of Muqtadir, about 65 miles northeast of Baghdad. At a bus station there early in the morning, insurgents went in, rounded up 24 people, passengers and bus drivers alike, took them away. Later in the day, police discovered 20 bodies. They believe those bodies are the bodies of some of those people rounded up earlier in the morning. In Baghdad, a car bomb in the center of the city killed 2 people, wounded another 2 people, and in a restaurant in the south side of the city, a suicide bomber walked into the restaurant, detonated his explosives, killed 7 people, wounded 20 others. This appears to be a recently rising trend where suicide bombers are now choosing to go into restaurants to target areas where people are crowded, where it appears they know they can kill a lot of people in one go. But quite a bloody day in Baghdad today, Wolf.
Nick Robertson on the scene for us in Baghdad. Thank you. Could this unyielding violence in the country bring about the very event American officials fear most? And joining us now, Major General William Caldwell. He's the chief spokesman for the coalition forces in Iraq. General, it looks to the outsider like the country is falling apart and getting into the brink of a civil war. How bad is the situation right now?
Well, there's no question that we've got some incidents that we're dealing with here in the Baghdad area, but we are by no means out of control. What you really have are some extreme groups out there that are trying to do sensational attacks. They're sort of desperate. The Al-Qaeda in Iraq has been severely depleted. They're very desperate right now, and they're going out and do sensational things. They're producing casualties to grab headlines and attention. And it's something we're focusing on and readjusting our efforts here in Baghdad to confront.
In recent days, we've put together a list of some of the atrocities that have gone on. On July 9th, mass Shiite gunmen abduct at least 40 Sunnis and kill them. Also on July 9th, 2 car bombs explode near a Shia mosque, 17 people dead. In recent days, since the weekend, 100 people have been brutally killed, almost in a deliberate fashion. People looking for their ID cards if they seem to have a Shia name or a Sunni name, and they're dead.
Well, let's take the incident at Jihad there on the 9th of July. U.S. forces eventually were called in to respond to that, where supposedly 40 Sunnis were executed. When we arrived on the scene and started assessing the situation there, we were able to find 14 dead personnel. I mean, even one is too many. But the reporting has gotten a little larger than what's actually occurring out there, and we've been seeing that repeatedly lately, as if to almost somehow to sensationalize what's going on. There are challenges, there's no question, but at the same time, it's not out of control, as people are saying. The car bombs. At the same time that we're talking about these incidents you just talked about, I can tell you about 4 different events where we stopped kidnapping attempts. We, being the Iraqi security forces, foiled 4 kidnapping attempts, stopping cars at checkpoints and freeing people who had been captive, 3 Red Crescent workers and 3 other local Iraqi nationals. I can tell you an incident where we defused a car bomb sitting right out near the green zone because Iraqi security forces identified this car and with literally 5 minutes left, defuse a bomb. So at the same time some of these things are going on, there's some great things that are happening too that the Iraqi security forces are doing that unfortunately just never reach the attention of anybody.
The Defense Secretary, Donald Rumsfeld, is in Iraq today. He said this earlier. He said the problem in Baghdad is basically there are armed groups that roam the place, and when our forces go in, they disappear. So that tells you something. It's not like you can find an enemy and go in and address them. A lot of people are wondering, 3.5 years or so into this war, and General Casey himself acknowledged that in the short term, the U.S. may have to beef up its military presence in Baghdad to deal with this emerging situation.
Baghdad is the center of the universe here in Iraq. There's no question. As go Baghdad, will go the rest of this nation. And so we have got to put the right focus there. And the insurgent elements, the anti-Iraqi force elements know the same thing, and they're focused on Baghdad too. And we are going to continue to look and refine this plan. The government of Iraq has had a lot of meetings over the last few days with us there in support of them, as they've talked about how they might reorient what they're doing inside of Baghdad to further address some of these people acting as illegal groups operating outside of the law that need to be dealt with. There's no question there's some out there, and then they're working some plans right now to, in fact, do that.
Could you, have you been able, the U.S. intelligence community, to confirm that gruesome video that Al-Qaeda apparently released the other day of these 2 American soldiers who were killed in Yusufia, that gruesome video was in fact the mutilation of Private First Class Christian Menchaca and Private First Class Thomas Tucker?
We have not been able to positively confirm it at this point, although I know they are working on that now to do that verification. But what we do know is that the brutality of those groups that did that to those 2 young soldiers there, that would take and then post it on the internet, as if somehow that brutality being shown on the internet is somehow glorifying what they're doing, is just shows you the evil that we're confronted with over here, and that the poor people of Iraq have to deal with every day themselves.
And this notion that they were killed because in revenge for the alleged rape of an Iraqi woman by a U.S. soldier and some others, what do you make of that?
Well, at this point, there's absolutely nothing we can find to show any correlation between the two. It appears it's a chance opportunity that they're taking advantage of because we have been so open about the incident we're dealing with down there. We had an incident down there. We've been very open and transparent about it. We're investigating it, and we're going to seek justice in that situation to ensure that justice is done. Whereas this element that's posted the pictures on the internet, they're seeking revenge. They have no idea of what it means to seek justice out there, and this is something that the people of Iraq, unfortunately, have not had the opportunity to experience.
General Caldwell, as I always tell you, be safe over there. Thanks very much for joining us.
Well, thank you very much.
Meanwhile, the former dictator Saddam Hussein is on a hunger strike. A U.S. military spokesman says he's refused all meals since last Friday, drinking only coffee with sugar and fortified water. The strike is to protest poor security for his defense attorneys, 3 of whom have been killed since Saddam Hussein's trial started. This is also Saddam Hussein's 3rd hunger strike since then. Coming up, it had no competition for a Pentagon Iraqi contracts worth billions. Now the controversial deal is about to end. We'll have the latest on Vice President Dick Cheney's old company, Halliburton. And coming up at our 7 p.m. Eastern hour, the Assistant U.S. Secretary of State, Chris Hill. He's the Bush administration's point man on North Korea. He's in Beijing right now. He's working the crisis, traveling throughout the region. He's going to join us live from Beijing, right here in The Situation.
I love this one. This man finally popped the question. You like it?
Oh, it's so beautiful.
But his Visa card was over the limit.
I'm so sorry. There seems to be a problem.
His fiancée told him to call American Express.
Okay, this one's so cool. A Gold Card member wanted a special gift for his wife's birthday.
Oh.
So I got him tickets through Gold Card events for the concert of the year before they went on sale.
Got him.
Call 1-800-THE-CARD and apply now for the Preferred Rewards Gold Card.
This one's quite romantic. Card member calls up, wants to take her husband to this really authentic Italian restaurant. No problem. I say you can use your points to fly on practically any airline.
Tiramisu.
Italian food in Italy. Bellissimo.
With the American Express Preferred Rewards Gold Card, you get all this and more. Call 1-800-THE-CARD and apply now and experience a world of service.
I think it happens to a lot of guys over 50. See, I was always going during the movies and hating to stand up, going during a presentation and hating to stand out.
For you this afternoon.
And once I got there, I had trouble going, and I was going 3 times a night. I said to my doctor, I have a going problem. He said, you have a growing problem. It's not your bladder. Your prostate is growing. See, I had an enlarging prostate. My doctor prescribed Avodart.
Most medicines only treat symptoms. Avodart, with time, actually shrinks the prostate and improves urinary symptoms.
So I can go more easily when I need to go and go less often.
Only your doctor can tell if your symptoms are from an enlarged prostate and not a more serious condition such as prostate cancer, so have regular prostate exams. Avodart is for men only. Women should not take or handle Avodart due to the risk of a specific birth defect. Tell your doctor if you have liver disease. Rarely, sexual side effects, tenderness, or swelling of the breast can occur. Call your doctor today. Avodart, for your growing problem.
I hate political correctness. I love the truth. Too often political correctness is all about controlling language and hiding the truth. We have to tell it like it is. It's what we all deserve.
Lou Dobbs tonight. CNN coming up next.
It's time for answers.
Larry King Live, exclusive. Dan Rather's first live in-depth interview on his life after CBS. CNN tonight. After his abrupt departure, what's next? Dan Rather covers it all and takes your calls. Larry King exclusive. Tonight, 9 Eastern, only on CNN.
Closed captioning hours on CNN, sponsored in part by Garlic, cholesterol's natural enemy.
Cholesterol. My doctor said to watch it.
Garlic maintains healthy cholesterol naturally.
My doctor's happy. So am I.
Eat right, exercise, Garlic.
U.S. Army's ending its multi-billion-dollar contract in Iraq with Halliburton, the company once run by Vice President Dick Cheney. The deal was highly controversial because it was awarded without competing bids. Our Pentagon correspondent Barbara Starr is following the story. She's joining us live. Barbara?
Wolf, the Army has made the decision, indeed, to go ahead and rebid that contract to Halliburton, one of the most controversial contracts in Pentagon history, a multi-billion-dollar contract to provide food, water, fuel, even laundry services to thousands of U.S. troops in Iraq, Afghanistan, and around the world. Now, the Army had been paying Halliburton between $5 and $7 billion a year as the sole source for this type of work. There had been almost constant allegations, of course, of overcharges and other contract problems that Halliburton had denied. This was their Kellogg, Brown & Root subsidiary. Halliburton, as you say, the former company of Vice President Dick Cheney. So what the Army is going to do now, they say it's just part of their lessons learned on how to do business better. They are going to open up that contract. They're going to bid to as many as 3 companies with a 4th company that they will select to oversee it all. But Army officials, Wolf, behind the scenes are already telling us there are very few companies that can do this kind of work on such a large scale. So they expect Halliburton to bid again and still be in the business. Wolf?
All right, Barbara, thank you very much. The death toll from the series of bombings on commuter trains in Mumbai, India, now up to 185, with more than 700 people injured. And new details of the attacks are emerging from the investigation. CNN's Anish Raman is joining us now live from Mumbai, formerly known as Bombay. Anish?
Well, Wolf, yet to emerge is exactly who was behind these attacks. The Indian Prime Minister earlier today addressed the nation. He said India stands united, but did not mention, nor has any public official here suggested, who was behind the attacks. Now, all the assumptions on the ground at the moment is that it was an Islamic militant group operating within India, one of the larger ones because of the high sophistication involved in these attacks. Some 7 bombs and an 8th outside of a train taking place in the course of 11 minutes. But the Indian public, and in Mumbai specifically, are waiting for something tangible. They do think that, as well, that they have some leads, that there were timers found in pencils perhaps within these trains, and of course eerie similarities between what happened in Mumbai, what's happened in Madrid, what happened in London. That is also playing into the investigation. Meantime, though, for the families of the dead, they burn them today as is Hindu custom. I met with some of the families. I went to some crematoriums. They are angered. They are wondering why yesterday it took hours for the communication to come back up, why people were rushed into government hospitals that were overcrowded. Those that have enough money have now transferred their loved ones who are injured into private hospitals. And so as the city itself rebounds and moves forward, it suffered attacks like this before, to this magnitude, not for perhaps a decade. It does so with these residents within who are resigned, essentially, Wolf, to the fact that this will happen again and that the government has no control. But the key dynamic we're waiting for is if the Indian government does, as it's done in the past, call upon the Pakistani government to do more, and whether it thinks that the Pakistani government and President Musharraf will respond with force to the militants that they think are operating in Pakistan in reaction to this attack. Wolf?
All right, Anish Raman joining us live from Mumbai. Thank you. And I talked about the bombings earlier with Pakistan's Foreign Minister Khurshid Kasuri, and I asked him about accusations that Pakistan may have played a role in the attacks. Listen to this.
These people do not wish Pakistan-India peace process well. They are the enemies of the peace process, and we condemn this unequivocally. It's a dastardly act. The government of Pakistan, the President, the Prime Minister, and I have condemned it unreservedly.
Because, as you know, there are already statements coming out of India, given the history of the tensions between India and Pakistan, pointing fingers at Pakistan. One former member of the Indian National Security Advisory Board is quoted in the Wall Street Journal this week as saying it has all the hallmarks of a terrorist act coming from a militant organization that has got its headquarters and gets its sustenance from Pakistan.
Well, let me make a few comments on that. There have been statements from high government officials, civil and military, in which they have admitted publicly, and has been carried widely by Indian newspapers, that what they describe as movement across the line of control has come down drastically. In some cases, they have left it at that. In some cases, they have claimed the credit for having the fence there and for the effectiveness of the government, of the Indian government.
You're talking about the line of control in Kashmir and the disputed area between India and Pakistan. This is the source of all the tensions between these two governments.
Absolutely. And they have themselves said that it's been controlled. Now, when it's been controlled to a very large extent in their words, the point is that why should there be finger pointing every time? India is a vast country, it has its own problems. There are attacks in other parts of India. We strongly condemn this incident, but there should not be a knee-jerk reaction that everything happening in India starts from Pakistan.
And you can see the full interview with the Pakistani foreign minister. That will air this Sunday on Late Edition, 11 a.m. Eastern only here on CNN. Let's check in with Lou Dobbs to see what's coming up right at the top of the hour. Hi, Lou.
Hi, Wolf. Thank you. Coming up at 6 Eastern here on CNN. Tonight we'll be reporting on the huge Israeli military assault against Lebanon after the abduction of 2 Israeli soldiers. The White House today blames Syria and Iran. To discuss Israel and the war in Iraq, one of the world's leading authorities on the Middle East, Fuad Ajami, joins us. Also tonight, computer hackers have successfully gained access to some of the most sensitive information in the U.S. State Department. Have Communist China and North Korea declared a cyber war against the United States? We'll have that special report. And the White House and the Senate, incapable of dealing with our illegal immigration and border security crisis. Now states taking action on their own. We'll have that report, and I'll be talking with Senator Rick Santorum, who's battling for his political life and is now strongly opposing his president's immigration policies. We hope you'll be with us for all of that and a great deal more at the top of the hour here on CNN. Wolf, back to you.
You know, Lou, do you ever get the sense that between North Korea, Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, now Israel with the Palestinians, and in Lebanon, that the whole world is falling apart?
The fact of the matter is we've been reporting on this network for some years. This is a war against radical Islamist terrorists, and there should be no mistake. I've always said for years that it's a mistake to call it a war on terror. This is a war against a very specific group of people, radical Islamists, and it is global.
Lou Dobbs coming up right at the top of the hour. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Will.
The prominent political advisors behind a new website call it the online equivalent of a national town hall meeting, a digital nonpartisan forum where millions can discuss and dissect hot political topics. The site's name, Hot Soup. Internet reporter Jackie Schechter standing by with more. Jackie, tell us about this new site.
Well, Mark McKinnon was the chief media strategist for Bush Cheney in 2004, and Joe Lockhart was a press secretary for President Clinton. But now they're coming together as part of a team that is pooling its funds and its resources to create a new online community that they are calling Hot Soup. One of the women involved is Ali Severino, and she has experience online with community and video. She tells me the goal is to create a place where people can have intelligent, bipartisan conversation. The site is set to launch in October, and they're inviting leaders in business, entertainment, and politics to have open, unedited conversation. The site's going to be run by Ron Fournier, a former Associated Press political writer, and he's supposed to pose questions and keep the dialogue going. We are seeing plenty of skepticism online already, and that too, Wolf, is bipartisan. Everything from talking about how the site is going to tank immediately to conversation about how you're going to need more than a website to fix political polarization in this country. Wolf.
And I spoke earlier today with one of the founders of this new website, Joe Lockhart, the former White House press secretary under Bill Clinton. He's very excited about this, and we're going to have him on at some point to talk about this new website, Hot Soup. Thanks, Jackie, for that. Up ahead, Karl Rove on Jack Cafferty's mind. He's wondering what should happen now that Rove has been identified as a source in the CIA leak case. And this note coming up at our 7 p.m. Eastern hour, it was the headbutt heard around the world. You all watched it, you saw it. Now the guy who butted, he's going to tell his side of the story. And it's a story made for our Jeannie Mose. You'll want to see it. That's at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Tonight at 8, he's been called America's mayor since 9/11. But does Rudy Giuliani want to be America's next president? And what kind of a president would he be? Tonight, 8 Eastern.
Pure Dell. It's an uncomplicated approach to unbridled growth. From Unix migration to server consolidation, you can expand seamlessly for a faster return on your IT dollar. And it all runs on new Dell PowerEdge servers featuring the reliability of dual-core Intel Xeon processors. So your enterprise doesn't simply survive, it thrives. That's the direct path to success. That's pure Dell.
10 years after TWA Flight 800 exploded.
Why are passengers still at risk?
CNN presents No Survivors, Saturday and Sunday.
As a kid, I used technology to help people do better. Today, Scottrade does the same for online investors. If you've been thinking about moving your account, this is the perfect time to come to Scottrade. With powerful trading tools and fast, accurate $7 trades, Scottrade gives you more for your money.
Save like never before on America's mattress of choice during the Englander Warehouse Clearance Sale at Banner Furniture Outlet. We've received special price reductions from Englander, and we're passing the savings on to you, up to 40% off on specially marked Englander mattress sets, like twins starting at $79 each piece and queen pillow tops starting at $3.99. Don't wait, the sale won't last long. Buy it today, enjoy it today, during Banner Furniture's Englander Warehouse Mattress Clearance Sale.
Hi, I'm Jim.
And I'm Jim. Come see us at Banner Furniture, the big store with hometown service.
Hi, I'm the person who didn't save hundreds of dollars by switching car insurance. Yep, I'm the guy. Must be, because every day they tell me about a bazillion people who switched on TV, radio, billboards.
They show me entire stadiums worth of people who switched.
But Progressive Direct shows you side-by-side comparisons of competitors' rates and services, so you can see if their services are worth the savings. Those gazillion people should call Progressive, because no one likes to be wrong. Think easier. Think Progressive.
Finally, there's a real choice in home phone service, because with Comcast Digital Voice, now you're talking. For one flat rate, you get unlimited local and nationwide long distance on the phones you already have, using the power of the Comcast fiber optic network we built from the ground up. That includes 12 calling features and voicemail you can check online. So don't just chat. Talk with Comcast Digital Voice. Just $33 a month for up to 12 months. Comcast, the power of one.
Wait an hour for morning news. 6 a.m. CNN American Morning tomorrow.
Here's a look at some of the hot shots coming in from our friends over at the Associated Press. Pictures likely to be in your hometown newspapers tomorrow. Southern Lebanon, smoke rises after an Israeli air raid as people flee in a Mercedes. Seoul, South Korea, protesters burn a North Korean flag. A police officer is quick to douse it with a fire extinguisher. Morongo Valley, California, wildfire rages out of control. Thousands of acres are on fire. And in Mobile, Alabama, after an early morning rainfall, look at this, a rainbow reaches across the sky. Some of today's hot shots, pictures often worth 1,000 words. Let's go back to CNN's Frederica Whitfield. She's joining us from the CNN Center in Atlanta with a closer look at some other stories. Fred?
And Wolf, we have some new pictures coming into CNN. A Houston news station is reporting 200 people have been exposed to a toxic chemical leak in the city. KHOU television reports that a drum of hydrobromic acid was punctured at a warehouse in northeast Houston. At least 6 city buses are said to be on the scene, apparently to provide mobile triage units for the victims. Safety inspectors in Massachusetts say that bolts attaching 3-ton ceiling panels in a tunnel in Boston are loose in more than 60 places. This after a falling panel killed a motorist on Monday. Despite the problems, the chairman of the state's Turnpike Authority says Massachusetts' tunnel system is, quote, safe. Drug makers are reporting that the FDA today approved the first once-daily pill for fighting HIV/AIDS. The new pill combines 3 medications produced by 2 pharmaceutical companies. HIV and AIDS patients have traditionally had to take a so-called cocktail of medications that involve many pills a day. Wolf.
Thanks, Fred. Frederica Whitfield reporting. A new report crowns MySpace.com as the most visited website in the United States. But is the social networking site really more popular than, say, Yahoo? Let's bring in our internet reporter, Jackie Schechner. Jackie?
You just wanted to say Yahoo. Hitwise is one of those companies that tracks web traffic, and they did just say that MySpace was the most trafficked website in the United States, puts it above Google, Yahoo Mail, even Hotmail. Well, they also cite growth as one of the reasons. If you take a look here, the blue line here is MySpace, this is Google. It was a survey of some 10 million internet users nationwide. But here's the catch. Hitwise separates out different aspects of websites. So they'll separate Yahoo Mail and Yahoo Search. So MySpace may be more visited than each of those separately, but not more than those combined. Yahoo says that the Hitwise results are misleading, and in a statement they say they are still the most popular internet destination in the world. And if you take a look at one of the other web traffic tracking sites like Alexa, they do say the same thing. They put Yahoo #1 in the United States, Google #2, and MySpace comes in at 3. Wolf?
My favorite is CNN.com. Thanks
Me
very
too.
much, Jackie, for that. Up next, Jack Cafferty wondering what should happen to Karl Rove now that he's been identified as the source in the CIA leak case, the Cafferty file. Straight ahead. Stay with us.
Tonight on 360, tightening the noose on a fugitive polygamist by targeting his flock. Followers of Warren Jeffs now facing justice, some facing prison. We'll hear from an ex-follower whose testimony is bringing them down. Tonight, 360, 10 p.m. Eastern.
When it comes to my hair color, there's one game I refuse to play. The guessing game with Natural Match. Now the color I want is the color I get.
Natural Match helps select the shade that looks naturally best on you and the tone that looks best on your skin.
Guessing game over.
Natural Match Hair Color by L'Oreal Paris.
Have a good day. See you tonight.
Okay.
Introducing the new Suzuki Grand Vitara. You want more out of life? Suzuki's giving you the green light. Go.
I hope I said that right. I'm Matt Tucker. Welcome to America.
Oh, your Chinese is good.
I worked on it all morning.
Century 21.
My name is Ruben Martinez, and this is my story. I'm a hairstylist. I enjoy my clients very much. I say to them things like, you know what? I want to change your look. Since they trust me, they let me do whatever I want. I have arthritis in my fingers. This, after you do it 1,000 times, it hurts a lot. Thank God I found a leaf. It really helps. When I take a leaf, I become a lot more creative because I have no pains. I have clients for 20, 30 years, so I must be doing something right. I must be good.
Do you have an adjustable rate mortgage? How much has your monthly payment gone up? Do you have credit card debt? Get a new low fixed rate home loan with one low monthly payment, even if you have a credit problem. Log on or call 1-800-71-FIXED.
Firestone Complete Auto Care is making it easier than ever to save during our biggest tire event of the year. Drive an SUV or pickup? Then buy 3 of our popular dueler tires and get one free. Or choose from hundreds of other tires, any size, one low price. Like performance tires, any size, just $60. Bridgestone tires, any size, just $70. And for a limited time only, take advantage of our special credit terms and pay no interest till 2007. That's complete savings. That's Firestone Complete Auto Care.
Let's check back with Jack in New York. Jack.
Wolf, the question this hour is, now that Karl Rove has been identified by Bob Novak as a source, pardon me, in the CIA leak case, what ought to happen to him? Donna in Bremerton, Washington writes, fire Rove. He committed an act of treason and should be punished. He, along with Novak, endangered the lives of many people and put in peril numerous projects that would have benefited our national security. Peg writes, what should happen to Karl Rove now? As a former Fed, I can tell you what would have happened to any of us who did a similar thing. Fired. He should be off the government payroll and out of the White House. Where is some integrity here? Government employees take an oath, and most of us mean it. I guess political employees are above such things. Steve in Atlanta writes, Karl Rove should be put in jail. If he was a source for the leak, then the man needs to do time. I'm so tired of politicians getting off or getting a slap on the wrist, a la Cynthia McKinney, for performing illegal acts that anyone else would be fined and jailed for. Jesse writes he should receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom, of course. Chuck in Macon, Missouri, the president should keep his promise and fire him as he said he would. If that should happen, then the energy crisis would be solved as well, because we could all use flying pigs for transportation. And Jim in Fort Worth, Texas, if Rove has violated the law, he should be forced to spend 3 days listening to reruns of the Cafferty file. That would be punishment enough for anyone.
Did you get any emails supporting Karl Rove?
Not outright support. We got some suggesting that, he wasn't indicted by Fitzgerald and that he hasn't been convicted of any crime and those kinds of things. We didn't get anything, though. Karl Rove is my favorite all-time American human being. I didn't read anything like that.
So what you're suggesting, what a lot of our viewers at least are suggesting, there should be one standard for being fired from the government, another for having criminal charges filed against you.
Well, maybe there are two different issues here, and President Bush made it fairly clear. My tie is so crooked I can't even stand it, pardon me. President Bush made it very clear that if he found anybody in his White House that was leaking sensitive information to the press, it would be addressed. So if Rove talked to Novak about Valerie Plame, that seems to fit what the president was talking about, and the president so far hasn't done anything about it.
We'll see you in an hour, Jack. Thanks very much. We're back in 1 hour. Let's go to Lou Dobbs. He's in New York. Lou?
Thank you, Wolf. Tonight, Israel is on the verge of an all-out war with Lebanon. Israeli tanks, artillery, and troops are now in southern Lebanon. We'll have a live report from the Israel-Lebanon border. And the U.S. State Department today revealed its computers have been attacked. Have North Korea and Communist China declared a cyber war against the United States? We'll have that special report here tonight.
This is Lou Dobbs Tonight. News, debate, and opinion for Wednesday, July 12th. Live in New York, Lou Dobbs.
Good evening, everybody. The Middle East tonight appears to be on the verge of an all-out war. Israel says it will unleash its utmost power to recover 2 Israeli soldiers abducted by Hezbollah on the Israel-Lebanon border. Israeli troops tonight are advancing into southern Lebanon and shelling suspected terrorist positions, and Israel is calling up its military reserves. The White House today said Syria and Iran, which support Hezbollah, are responsible for the violence. This new crisis comes as President Bush faces a rising insurgency in Afghanistan and rising sectarian violence in Iraq, while both North Korea and Iran have issued new threats against the United States. John Voss reports from the Israel-Lebanon border tonight on the Israeli offensive. Ed Henry, traveling with President Bush, reports from Rostock, Germany, on White House reaction to the violence. And Barbara Starr reports from the Pentagon on U.S. efforts to stop the spiraling number of sectarian killings in Iraq. We turn first to John Voss. John?
Blue Israeli airstrikes have struck deep inside southern Lebanon today, targeting mostly Hamas training camps and buildings, but roads and bridges have also been bombed. The head of the Israeli Northern Command Forces says all of Lebanon is now a target. This is an offensive by land, sea, and air. The Israeli military says so far today 8 Israeli soldiers have been killed, 3 in the initial attack in which 2 Israeli soldiers were killed, or kidnapped rather. Another 4 were killed when their tank hit an explosive just inside Lebanese territory, and an 8th soldier was killed by gunfire as he tried to rescue them. The Israeli cabinet tonight has approved what it says is a severe response, but says the military operation will be gradually escalated to put pressure on the Lebanese government. The Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert says the kidnappings and the attacks go way beyond terrorism. He says it's now an act of war and is holding the Lebanese government responsible for the fate of the 2 kidnapped Israeli soldiers. But amid all of the celebrations in Lebanon, the government there is denying any responsibility and says it does not condone the actions of the Hezbollah militants, who are now demanding the release of Lebanese prisoners being held by Israel in exchange for the 2 kidnapped Israelis. Lou?
John Voss, thank you, from the Israel-Lebanon border. Israel today launched more attacks in Gaza as Israeli troops intensified their search for a captured Israeli soldier there. Israeli artillery and aircraft firing on and killing at least 18 Palestinians today, one of the worst for casualties since the Israeli military operation began at the end of last month. The White House today blamed Syria and Iran for the abduction of the 2 Israeli soldiers by Hezbollah. The new international crisis comes as the president prepares to discuss global events with world leaders at the G8 summit meeting held in Russia this weekend. Ed Henry is traveling with President Bush and reports from the German city of Rostock.
President Bush is stopping in Germany on his way to the G8 summit in Russia, where a mountain of foreign policy headaches await him. Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice is on a separate diplomatic mission to Paris to deal with Iran, again refusing to answer the U.S. offer for talks in exchange for suspending its nuclear enrichment program. As Rice threatened tough UN sanctions against Iran, she had to deal by phone with yet another Middle East flare-up. Israeli troops stormed into Lebanon after Hezbollah abducted 2 Israeli soldiers and killed 3 more, which the Israeli Prime Minister dubbed an act of war and the White House called an unprovoked act of terrorism. Then there's a nuclear threat from North Korea as well as Iran, which the White House seems to be reacting to from a defensive posture.
We'll have to see. I think the diplomacy has set it up well. We'll have to see what these countries decide.
This has inflamed some conservatives, with Bill Kristol charging the approach to North Korea is Clintonian. But yet another hotspot, the ongoing war in Iraq, has left the president with a weakened hand.
The White House says the president has always said that approaches will change as circumstances change. But one of the circumstances that has changed, of course, is the president's standing at home and in the world.
In need of allies, the president is making the special stop in Germany to further bond with new Chancellor Angela Merkel.
Bush has focused on Germany, now that Chancellor Merkel is in office, as the key link to Europe. And that's important because Tony Blair is very weak. And that gives the United States a new foothold in Europe.
But there may be cracks in the president's one-time alliance with Russian President Vladimir Putin on the eve of their own one-on-one talks before the G8 summit. President Putin is reacting bitterly to a speech Vice President Cheney recently delivered in Lithuania, charging Russia may be backsliding on the way to full democracy.
I think your vice president's expression there is like his bad shot on his hunting trip.
The vice president's office declined to comment today on that blast from Mr. Putin, which will only increase pressure on President Bush to press his Russian counterpart harder, not just on the issue of reform, but also in bringing Russia along to fight Iran and North Korea's thirst for nuclear weapons. So far, that support has been elusive. Lou?
Ed, thank you very much. Ed Henry reporting from Rostock, Germany. Communist China and Russia today directly challenged U.S. policy toward North Korea after Pyongyang's missile test. China and Russia introduced today a draft United Nations resolution that makes no reference whatsoever to mandatory sanctions against North Korea. The United States, supported by Japan, says it still wants the Security Council to order sanctions against North Korea.
We're prepared to push ahead for a vote. We've deferred it on the basis of the high-level Chinese mission in Pyongyang. That's what the government of China asked us to do, and that's what we've been doing, reviewing it on a day-to-day basis. But if the resolution comes to a vote and China votes no, then that will be a decision they will have to make.
Japan tonight said the Chinese-Russian draft resolution has what it calls very serious gaps on very important issues. Communist China and Russia appear to be slightly more cooperative on the issue of Iran's nuclear weapons program and its defiance of international demands to end it. China, Russia, the United States, and other countries have sent the issue back to the UN Security Council for consideration. The agreement follows Iran's refusal to decide by today whether to accept an offer to begin talks on its nuclear activities. The U.S. military has successfully tested an intermediate-range missile defense system. The system has the unlikely acronym THAAD, THAAD. The interceptor is designed to shoot down short and intermediate range missiles in their last minutes of flight. It is a different type of interceptor from the type deployed in Alaska and California and would be used against the North Korean ICBMs. Those interceptors, of course, are intended to shoot down intercontinental ballistic missiles. Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld today made an unannounced visit to Iraq as sectarian violence there spiraled out of control. At least 30 Iraqis today were killed. Rumsfeld said it is too early to talk about large-scale U.S. troop withdrawals from Iraq, and the commanding general in Iraq, in fact, announced today that our troops could be called back to patrol the streets of Baghdad. Barbara Starr reports from the Pentagon.
Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld is in Iraq at a time when sectarian violence in Baghdad alone has claimed more than 100 Iraqi lives in the last few days. His top commander, General George Casey, says it's a violent Shia backlash against the Sunni insurgency.
We are seeing now, as a counter to that, is death squads, primarily from Shia extremist groups that are retaliating against civilians.
At a time when U.S. commanders hope to be talking about troop reductions, Casey is saying more troops might be needed to deal with the death squads.
It's constant pressure on both sides of the equation while we increase the numbers of forces in and around the city to protect the population.
Does it include additional U.S. forces in Baghdad?
It may, yes.
This comes after a highly publicized effort to put thousands of Iraqi security forces on Baghdad streets. Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki told members of parliament he now fears insurgents will try to take control of western Baghdad. For his part, Rumsfeld kept to the stay the course message, but also acknowledged that police forces must do better. The secretary continues to say that U.S. military force cannot fix Iraq's problems.
The political process is critical to success on the security side. The Prime Minister's effort with respect to reconciliation will be critically important in achieving better success with respect to security.
Lou, while the violence against Iraqi civilians continues really unabated at this point, U.S. troops are also facing a rising number of IED attacks. There is one piece of better, if not good news, and that's that the troops, the Pentagon says, are finding more of the IEDs before they explode. Lou?
Barbara, that is good news indeed. Thank you. Barbara Starr from the Pentagon. The U.S. Army has decided to end its exclusive contract with Halliburton for logistical services for our troops in Iraq, Afghanistan, and other countries. The multi-billion-dollar contract will now be open for bidding from other companies. The cancellation of the deal follows repeated allegations of waste, fraud, and mismanagement by Halliburton, allegations that Halliburton has denied. Still ahead here, secret negotiations to try to force President Bush's pro-amnesty agenda for illegal aliens through the Congress. We'll be live in Washington with that report. And states have had a bellyful of the federal government's failure to secure our borders and to enforce our immigration laws. Now many states are taking action on their own to enforce those laws. We'll have the report and troubling questions tonight about computer security in some of our government's most sensitive offices. Have Communist China and North Korea launched a cyber war against the U.S. State Department? That special report coming up here next.
I'm Pete. I've had nice bosses, mean bosses, short bosses, tall bosses, she bosses, he bosses, they bosses, serious bosses, nervous bosses, and one kind of funny boss. Now I'm the boss, and my plan is to keep the boss happy.
You do what you love. We'll help you keep your investments on track. Fidelity Retirement Income Advantage. Call 1-800-FIDELITY. Smart move.
Joe's been my plumber for 6 years and was recently working on a drainage problem in my home. So I called him from work to let him know that I'd be a little late. Unfortunately, no one told Molly, my 3-year-old Papillon. Joe patiently paraded her up and down the street, sacrificing his time and dignity until her business was done. That's why he's the only plumber I'll ever use.
Visit Angie's List for thousands of unbiased reports from members in your area. Borrow some experience at Angie's List.
The thing is, everyone wants to save money on their car insurance.
You asking if they want a free Geico quote's like asking if they want free pie and chips. Of course they want free pie and chips. It's pie with chips for free. But pie and chips, you can get them anywhere. Geico quotes, made from scratch, just for you. Only at geico.com.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Pop quiz. What compact sedan gets up to 34 miles per gallon, has more power and space than Corolla, and starts under $12,000? Is it A, the Kia Spectra, B, the Kia Spectra, C, the Kia Spectra, or D, all of the above? Correct! You picked the Kia Spectra, and with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, there really is no other choice. Starts under $12,000 after cash back. The award-winning Kia Spectra, the best value on the road.
10 years after TWA Flight 800 exploded, what are airline passengers not being told? A special 2-hour investigation.
Why are passengers still at risk?
CNN presents No Survivors. Saturday and Sunday night, 7 Eastern.
States, many of them, are taking action to directly attack the illegal immigration crisis, while Washington remains divided. We have two reports tonight on the widening gap between state action and federal inaction. Lisa Sylvester reports on the continuing congressional deadlock over so-called comprehensive immigration reform, and Kitty Pilgrim reports on state efforts to address the illegal immigration crisis. We begin with Lisa Sylvester in Washington. Lisa?
Lou, the Bush administration and congressional leaders have been negotiating behind the scenes to get an immigration reform bill through Congress, even as both the House and the Senate continue with a series of public hearings.
In a moment, we'll hear.
Proponents of amnesty are pinning their hopes on President Bush to see if he can break a congressional logjam. Monday, Senator Ted Kennedy pressed the case for amnesty at a White House Special Olympics event. Tuesday, Senator Arlen Specter had a separate immigration meeting with the president. Today, Senator Patrick Leahy tried to pin down the administration's immigration representative, Commerce Secretary Carlos Gutierrez, at a Judiciary Committee hearing.
Is the president prepared to get personally involved in this, to increase his involvement in this issue?
Senator, everything I've seen from the president is that he is deeply involved, deeply engaged.
Gutierrez says the White House still backs the comprehensive approach that combines border security with a guest worker program and legalization of illegal aliens, while keeping the door open to compromise.
One of the big challenges is how you execute that. How do we execute comprehensive reform? That execution can take on a lot of different avenues, but it needs to be comprehensive reform.
The Senate is trying to wrestle control of the issue from the House leadership, which announced a new round of summer hearings. House Majority Leader John Boehner says he not only has the public's support for a plan that secures the borders first, but is also winning over senators.
The number of conversations that I've found myself in with Democrats and Republicans on the Senate side have made it clear to me that there's some movement toward the House bill, and I'm encouraged by that.
Still, there's been no major breakthroughs. The House saying no to amnesty, the Senate still trying to get its legislation passed by Congress before the November elections.
And it's looking less likely that there will be something passed before the November elections. The House favors a two-part system, first border security, then later addressing guest worker concerns. Senate leaders and the president, at least at this point, still pushing for the so-called comprehensive approach. Lou?
Lisa, thank you. Lisa Sylvester from Washington. Well, many states, in fact, more than half of the states, are fed up waiting for the federal government, and they are acting on their own to address our illegal immigration crisis. Colorado became the latest state to restrict social benefits and to require employers to verify the legal status of their workers. More than 24 other states have recently passed legislation. Kitty Pilgrim reports.
Congress can endlessly discuss illegal immigration, but states are charging ahead in proposing and enacting illegal immigration laws.
States are taking this issue on their own, into their own hands. They're not waiting for a gridlocked Congress to act.
In 2006 alone, 500 pieces of legislation have been introduced, with at least 59 bills enacted in 27 states. The issue of illegal hiring is high priority. State after state are getting tough on employers who hire illegal aliens. Laws on education, benefits, voting, and driver's licenses are also high priorities in many states.
The state cannot have its own immigration policy. It can't, for example, control its own borders or control our own national borders. But there is a huge range of area where states can really be helpful in ensuring that they are not magnets that attract people illegally here.
4 states have enacted the toughest legislation related to illegal immigration: Colorado, Arizona, Georgia, and Virginia. Colorado is now restricting benefits like food stamps and Medicaid to illegal aliens, but also requires business owners to prove that their workers are legal. It also requires a contractor who discovers an illegal alien at a work site to alert the state agency within 3 days. Georgia state agencies check a person's legal status before providing benefits. Arizona requires U.S. citizenship to receive health care benefits, giving only emergency care to illegal aliens. Virginia denies illegal immigrants permission to obtain a handgun permit and requires the Department of Motor Vehicles to provide the State Board of Elections with a list of non-citizens' driver's license applications each month. Now, the message being sent by Colorado, Arizona, Georgia, Virginia, and more than half the states this year is very clear. They want strong enforcement of immigration laws, and if Congress won't act, states are going to step in and do what they can, Lou.
Kitty, thank you. Kitty Pilgrim. Voters in Georgia won't have to show their photo ID when they go to the polls for next week's primary elections. The Georgia Supreme Court today refused to block a challenge to the state's voter identification law. That law requires voters to show a state-approved photo identification card. It's designed to prevent voter fraud. But critics say it infringes on the voting rights of minorities and poor people. Coming up next, a security breach exposes our most sensitive government information. North Korea and Communist China could be declaring cyber war on this country. A special report ahead, and investigators in Mumbai are searching for clues in the bombings that killed nearly 200 Indian commuters. A live report from India ahead. And Israel attacks Lebanon, a new front in the widening Arab-Israeli war. Fuad Ajami, one of the world's leading authorities on the Middle East, joins me. Stay with us.
Your risks are always evolving. Shouldn't your insurance stay in sync? Travelers.
Let's see, we got Vonage a couple of months ago. It was easy to install. I mean, I'm not really technical, at all, and I did it myself. Look, so I just used our old phone, and it costs less, too. It's just $24.99 a month, and that includes voicemail, call waiting, caller ID, and a lot more at no extra charge. So we just love it.
We're not out to change the world, just the way you talk to it. Sign up now and get your first month free. Call 1-800-399-5210. High-speed internet connection required.
Larry King Live, exclusive. Dan Rather's first live in-depth interview on his life after CBS. CNN Tonight. After his abrupt departure, what's next? Dan Rather covers it all and takes your calls. Larry King exclusive. Tonight, 9 Eastern, only on CNN.
Tonight on 360, tightening the noose on a fugitive polygamist by targeting his flock. We'll hear from an ex-follower whose testimony is bringing them down. Tonight.
Do you have difficulty falling asleep and staying asleep at night? Are you 65 years of age or older? A clinical research study is being conducted for an investigational medication for the treatment of insomnia. Qualified participants will receive study-related medication, study-related medical care, and may receive compensation for time and travel. If you are 65 years of age or older and are interested in learning more about this insomnia research study, please call 503-276-6224.
How do you convince a 14-year-old girl that hair doesn't matter? When the diagnosis is childhood cancer, where can parents turn? CureSearch.org can help. It's run by doctors and scientists whose research has led to an overall cure rate of 78%. You're not as alone as you feel.
CNN, the most trusted name in news.
Cyber war attacks on computers at the U.S. State Department. And those attacks succeeded in crippling some State Department communications as North Korea was preparing its missile test. And the attackers may have permanently damaged the State Department's computer network. Bill Tucker reports.
This is the new front line of war. The latest attack, computers in the State Department's offices dealing with China and North Korea. The State Department downplayed the latest incident.
These are unclassified systems that don't deal with classified material in any way, shape, or form.
The dismissive attitude belies warnings from the Defense Department about the growing use of information technology as a strategic military tool by foreign governments, particularly China. Just last fall, the Pentagon warned Congress the Chinese understand what technology can do, noting the PLA's emphasis on information technology as a force multiplier. Security experts echoed that warning, saying foreign governments understand the power and the vulnerability of technology.
I actually had a chance to observe a school where this particular government was giving subsidies and some spending money to actually learn how to hack, and then was picking from those and then developing them into professional hackers.
And while the State Department's initial investigation shows that no sensitive data was compromised in the hacker attack, the damage may not be in what was not taken, but in what could have been left behind in the way of backdoors allowing them re-entry, or in the form of worms or a Trojan horse.
That's the bad news, is that we don't know the full scope of these attacks. They've been going on for years. They've gotten a lot of information, and they could have put things on people's computer systems that could do damage to us later.
No one is saying who is behind this latest hacker attack. The State Department will only say that the attacks came from the region of East Asia. There is no denying that the timing of these attacks are very interesting, Lou. They occurred in the weeks preceding North Korea's missile test.
And in point of fact, they succeeded in entering sensitive areas of the U.S. State Department's computers.
Exactly. They gained access.
And yet the State Department says that they did not take any sensitive information, even though they had access to it.
Correct.
And at the same time, but leading up to those missile tests, the State Department acknowledges that those cyber war attacks, in fact, ended some of the communications for the U.S. State Department computers.
Yes. If they're concerned, Lou, there was no evidence in the State Department briefing at all today that they are concerned.
Well, thank you very much, Bill. Fascinating report and an alarming one. Bill Tucker. Take a look now at your thoughts. Ron in Kansas asking, what happened to one man, one vote? A 10% error factor is simply not acceptable, referring to e-voting machines and the standards in this country. John in New Jersey said, hey, Lou, I can only wish our elected officials failed only 1/10 of the time. Bill in Texas, Lou, in the 1960s, we had the technology to put a man on the moon, yet in 2006, we're not able to count all of our citizens' votes in elections. Vincent in California, Mr. Dobbs, the more I write to CNN wanting to have you on more than an hour, the less we get. Sir, could you tell me why? Well, it's an interesting question, and we will relentlessly, rigorously seek out the answers. And Gerald in Nevada, Cambridge, like the rest of Massachusetts, is guilty of treason. All federal funds should be immediately stopped and the town council arrested for violation of the RICO Act, referring to Cambridge, Massachusetts sanctuary laws and its interest in providing support and succor for illegal aliens. Adrian in New York, there is one thing both the House and Senate are always in agreement on, the raises. And they continually give to themselves those raises at a time when the average American's wages haven't even kept up with the cost of living. Thomas in Arizona, Lou, I will keep this short and simple. No to Mike Pence and yes to a border fence. Send us your thoughts at LouDobbs.com. More of your thoughts coming up here later in the broadcast. Now our poll. Has your confidence in your elected officials ever been lower? Yes in the 90s. Yes in the 80s. Yes in the 70s. No. Or why do you ask? everything's Bafo. Cast your vote at LouDobbs.com. We'll have the results coming up here later. Next, wildfires scorching thousands of acres in Southern California. We'll have the latest for you on what is now a state of emergency on the West Coast. And investigators have new clues tonight in the terrorist bombings in India. We'll have a live report on the commuter train massacre from Mumbai. And Israel on the attack. Violence rising in Iraq and Afghanistan. Fuad Ajami, one of the world's leading authorities on the politics and culture of the Middle East, joins us here tonight. Stay with us.
We refinanced our first mortgage and consolidated our loans, and we were able to lower our monthly payment by $800, and it was very quick.
Log on or call 1-800-71-FIXED.
10 years after TWA Flight 800 exploded, what are airline passengers not being told? A special 2-hour investigation.
Why are passengers still at risk?
CNN presents No Survivors. Saturday and Sunday night, 7 Eastern.
LL Bean gear. If it lives up to our test, you can be sure it will live up to yours. For a free catalog of everything you need for fall, call us or shop now at llbean.com.
CNN, the most trusted name in news.
In a moment, Senator Rick Santorum, who is fighting for his political life, will be joining us. But first, these headlines. In Mumbai, investigators are trying to determine who is responsible for the bombings that killed nearly 200 people. We go now to Anish Raman in Mumbai for the latest developments. Anish?
Lou, good evening. Investigators are yet to name exactly who they think was behind the attack. They do have some clues, the type of explosives involved, also timers that they think were as small as those of a pencil that were inside the train. This was a highly sophisticated, coordinated attack. In the course of 11 minutes, 8 bombs detonating yesterday, killing close to 200 people. All of this is leading investigators towards the country's biggest Islamic militant group that does have ties to Pakistan, and is leading us to wonder whether the Indian government could stall the peace process that is being built on Kashmir, the disputed region in the north, and push the Pakistani president to do more. Meantime, the family of those killed, they cremated their dead today, as is Hindu custom. I visited with some of them. They expressed outrage at the government for the number of hours it took for communications to come back up, for the number of people that were sent to government hospitals that were inadequate in terms of preparation for that large number of casualties. And the bigger question in Mumbai tonight is the train system here remains one of India's biggest vulnerabilities. Some 10 million people a day on average use this train system as a livelihood to get from where they go, from what they are to where they have to go. There's virtually no security. It is being described as implausible given the number of people. But if the Indian government doesn't figure out a way, this train system remains an eerie similarity to London and Madrid and could get attacked again, Lou.
And to be clear, Anish, at this point, no definitive understanding as to who is responsible for this massacre.
None as of yet. The Indians here in Mumbai are waiting for the government to say who they think exactly is behind this attack.
Anish Raman from Mumbai, India. Thank you, Anish. A state of emergency tonight in San Bernardino, California. Firefighters are battling a wildfire there. It scorched more than 26,000 acres. The fire has destroyed more than 30 homes and buildings. More than 1,000 people have been evacuated. And Washington, D.C.'s police chief has declared a crime emergency in this nation's capital city. 14 people have been murdered this month in Washington, D.C., and armed attacks have jumped nearly 20%. 2 groups of terrorists were robbed at gunpoint near the Washington Monument just last night. Turning now to the showdown over illegal immigration in Washington, D.C., Senator Rick Santorum is now in the political battle of his life back home. Polls show him to be one of the most vulnerable incumbents in this year's upcoming midterm elections. Now, Senator Santorum is attacking the president's so-called comprehensive reform legislation, proposing a different plan to secure the border and to prevent employers from hiring illegal aliens. Senator Santorum joins us tonight from Capitol Hill. Senator, Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Lou.
Why are you weighing in at this particular moment with the introduction of your legislation as the Senate is seeking conference with the House?
Well, we've been working on this issue now for almost 18 months in the United States Senate. We've been going through countless iterations trying to get compromise bills up and before the Senate. They finally did bring a bill up, which I could not support. And what I've done from that point is to try to figure out what can we pass, what can pass the Senate, and what can pass the House. And I thought of the compromise being, since the House wants a border security first bill, let's take the provisions that just passed the United States Senate in the Senate bill that deal just with the border security issue. And let's take the Senate passed bill, send it to the House, have the House pass that bill, and then send it back to us. And, there we have a situation where we can take the first step. Now, there are additional steps that are going to have to be taken. We're going to have to look at, what we're going to do with employer verification and improving that, and probably some sort of temporary worker program. But we can agree that the Senate border security provision should go first.
Some sort of temporary worker program? As we look at Senator Frist and his eagerness for border security that resulted in what is basically an amnesty and a sellout in its entirety in that Senate legislation, which he and Senator Kennedy and Senator McCain and others hailed as some sort of profound historical achievement by the Senate. We're looking at Dennis Hastert, the Speaker of the House, James Sensenbrenner, leading the Judiciary Committee, standing up and saying, we're going to secure the borders, and that's the law they passed.
That's right.
Every poll shows Americans want our border secured, and they frankly don't trust you guys to get much done, because this president has played games obfuscating the difference between immigration and illegal immigration, talking border security, and can't even get 6,000 National Guardsmen to the border with Mexico as he promised. I mean, why should we take anything that happens in the Senate, including your advances, seriously?
Well, because it is an attempt to try to bridge that gap between what you described, which was a Senate bill that I did not support and could not support, even though I would argue my opponent, who I'm running against, you in the political run of my life, you suggested does support the Senate bill. I don't, but I do. I have problems with some of what the House has done, but the House is right that we need to do border security first. And so my suggestion is, let's take the provisions that were in the Senate bill dealing with border security and pass that.
Senator Santorum, let me just ask you straight up, what is it in the U.S. Senate that is not understood? What is it in the White House that's not understood? How complicated is it to simply say that almost 5 years since September 11th, this nation, a superpower, has the wherewithal, the political will, and its senators understand the need to secure our borders and our ports?
Well, I think you see it candidly just played out in the coalition that has supported this, quote, comprehensive reform. And it's a coalition of the Wall Street Journal and some of the open markets conservatives, the business community, who wants a flow of labor into this country.
Did you say cheap labor to exploit?
There's no question that the vast majority of the labor that's coming in, illegal immigration, overwhelming majority, is cheap labor, are low-wage workers. And you combine that with the open borders crowd to the left, the Ted Kennedy's folks, who see this as a political opportunity to build a future political base of support for the Democratic Party, and that combination has resulted in the bill that we have in the United States Senate today. And what I'm suggesting is let's stop that and let's put something forward that deals with national security and the economic security of our country.
Let me ask it just straight up this way. Would you be willing to support what the House has already passed without any other addendum?
Well, I have a couple of problems with the House passed bill. Actually, one of them is very interesting. This whole provision saying that crossing the border would be a felony. I have a problem with that, not because I don't think it's.
But James Sensenbrenner, the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, has already said that's out.
That's out. Oh, so I guess my point is, with some of the changes that people have talked about, I could support it, but not as originally passed, because I think there's some problems in the original passed House bill.
Senator Rick Santorum, we thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Up next here, three of the nation's most provocative and intelligent political analysts and commentators join me. And the Middle East, tonight, on the verge of all-out war, sectarian violence in Iraq, and Israel on the move in southern Lebanon. One of the country's top Middle East analysts Fuad Ajami joins us. And after a productive day in space for the astronauts at the International Space Station, NASA may be getting back on course. Stay with us.
Here we go. I'm sorry, Jake was next. Yeah, well, we're next now.
Well, washed all the dishes and I did a lot more. I even bought the dinner at the grocery store. And now, Mom, you find the key next door. This little girl's gonna rock it. I left some biscuits for the pup. I put fresh water in it.
I'm Paul McWaney, and this is my story. I've been playing the bass since I was 16 years old, and I noticed when I'd be practicing and playing rehearsals, I'd start stiffing up, and I was like, what is this? I ended up going to the doctor, and turns out that I have arthritis. My friend from softball told me about Aleve, and I tried it out, and it works great. It loosens it up, takes the pain away, and enables me to play. Aleve helps me play, but it doesn't make me a better player.
Money shouldn't be skinny. It should be fat. It should be big. Ginormous. We've created a way to make money into big money. Find out how you can do it at hsbcdirect.com. Introducing an online savings account with a 5.05% annual percentage yield. 8 times the national average. Money is better with a little extra padding on it. Let your money grow at HSBC. A really simple way to make your money fat. An online savings account that connects to your current checking account wherever you bank. There are no minimums, no monthly fees, and nothing to get in the way of your money becoming as hefty as possible. Brought to you by HSBC, the world's local bank. Member FDIC. Make your money big and beautiful at hsbcdirect.com.
Israel tonight is giving every appearance of preparations for all-out war. Israeli troops, tanks, aircraft, and ships are on the move. Israel has been bombarding southern Lebanon throughout this day. Israeli troops are advancing into southern Lebanon, and reserves have been called up. There is also rising sectarian violence in Iraq. The commanding general in Iraq today said U.S. troops could be called back to patrol the streets of Baghdad. Joining me now is Fuad Ajami. He's one of the world's leading authorities on the Middle East and Islam. He's professor of Middle East Studies at Johns Hopkins University, and he is the author of the new and very important and beautifully written book, The Foreigner's Gift, The Americans, the Arabs, and the Iraqis in Iraq. Fuad, it is a great pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Lou.
Let me start by complimenting you on a book that is very important to all our understanding.
My publisher will love you.
Well, I have to say that this book is important. It puts so much in context. But as we are listening to General Casey today, Fuad, say that U.S. troops may be not withdrawing, but rather moving back to patrol the streets of Baghdad, a law enforcement role, as we're watching Israel on the advance in Lebanon.
Right.
Let's start with Iraq.
Yes.
And let's use one of, if I can paraphrase one of your titles at a center point. Where does all this end in Iraq?
Well, I think we are deeply committed and deeply engaged in Iraq, and you're right. I mean, General Casey, one of our top commanders, an amazingly honest and candid man, he understands the situation. The battle has been joined, Lou, in Iraq. In fact, the Sunni Arabs had a free go at it for a long, long time. They went at the Shia, and they went at them with abandon. They killed them wherever they could find them. They targeted them everywhere. And now, all of a sudden, now the Shia militias have found their way into the battle. And you have these boys of Muqtada Sadr, this radical brigand, this radical cleric, and they have come out of Sadr city to engage in this fight. And so we have not quite civil war, but we have something approaching civil war.
It's approaching civil war, and is there any doubt in your mind that we will see it explode into civil war?
Well, I think there is something, the positive news, if you will, out of Iraq. I mean, there is now a government in the country which is really committed to national unity. This new Prime Minister, Noor al-Maliki, is a very decent man. He's eager. He's engaged in a program of national reconciliation. He's invited the Sunni Arabs to have a piece of the politics of the country. He's even gone out of Iraq. And if you notice, a few days ago, he was in Saudi Arabia and Kuwait and the United Arab Emirates, courting the Sunni Arabs around Iraq in order to cap the volcano in his own country.
The volcano in his own country, and that volcano is, it seems, becoming far more active and certainly moving nothing toward, nowhere near dormancy. What can the United States do here? Are we so, as you say, committed and so engaged that extrication is unthinkable at this point, or is that unthinkable?
Well, I think there are two things that are happening in Iraq. There is one, the training of the Iraqi army is really going apace, and it's quite advanced, and it's actually doing very well. The training of the police is a very different world. The police is really the sectarian militias by another name, because when the Sunni Arabs boycotted the government, what happened is the young Shia boys went into the police, and the Interior Ministry and the police forces have become an extension of the Shia militias. This is really where the Shia are striking back at the Sunnis who've goaded them into this battle.
The idea that the 22 Arab states are doing nothing to support the United States, in point of fact, they're supporting, in most cases, as you document, they're supporting the insurgency. And the Sunnis, who a minority have held sway over the Shia, the majority, and the Kurds, of course, for decades. Why can the United States not come up with a foreign policy that says to Saudi Arabia, to Syria, to Egypt, you will either be our friend and you will support Iraq, or you will be our enemy?
Well, you've asked a very noble American question, as is your habit on this show. I think this is the fundamental issue here. The Arab states around Iraq are eager to see us bleed. They don't really want
bleed. We are
absolutely, and they don't want us to. They don't want to see us fail big time, because our shadow falls over that region and we underpin their security. So they don't want to see us fail, but they also don't want to see Iraq emerge as a nascent and good democracy. And I think our predicament today is actually good in many ways, the Arab regimes, because in this book I say that there is a battle between American power and the laws of gravity in the region. And they are content to watch us bleed in Iraq, and they believe that the laws of gravity will prevail, that we will lose this war. We won't, because the Iraqis, believe me, will come to the rescue. This Iraqi army will be reliable in the end. There is a political process unfolding in Iraq, and the Iraqis are eager to reclaim their country and to stop this drift toward destruction.
Destruction? Israel on the march in southern Lebanon.
Right.
Where does that end?
Well, southern Lebanon is by chance is my birthplace, so it's very close. I think what happened is no government, no sovereign government in the world could countenance the kidnapping of its soldier and stand idly by. Hezbollah, the party of God in Lebanon, sought this crisis as a way of controlling the politics of the country, and has in fact goaded Israel into this battle.
Will it be an all-out war in your judgment?
I don't think there will be a wider war, but I think fundamentally the question of Hezbollah, the question of an armed militia in a sovereign country, is a problem. And there are all kinds of UN resolutions against that. We need to disarm Hezbollah, and we need to bring the Lebanese army to the Israeli-Lebanese border.
And Syria and Iran to be held accountable for their support?
Syria and Iran are accountable. I mean, in fact, the paycheck for Hezbollah comes from Iran, and the political and military support comes from Syria, and that's what they've done.
Fouad Ajami, we thank you for being here. We want to thank CBS News for permitting you to be here. Fouad, analyst on the Middle East for CBS News. The book is The Foreigner's Gift, a very important book, a very good read. We thank you very much, Fouad.
Thank you very much.
Coming up at the top of the hour here on CNN, The Situation Room with Wolf Blitzer. Wolf, tell us all about it.
He's also, Lou, a great teacher. He was my teacher at the Johns Hopkins School of Advanced International Studies. Fouad Ajami, a good man. Coming up at the top of the hour, Israel on the offensive. We're going to have more on what's going on involving the Palestinian militants and Hezbollah after the seizure and killing of some Israeli soldiers. We have reporters standing by live in Gaza and Jerusalem and along the border with Lebanon. The Middle East is only one hot spot on President Bush's radar right now as he gets ready to meet with fellow world leaders. Can they come up with a plan for North Korea? I'll put that question to the point man for North Korea, the Assistant U.S. Secretary of State, Christopher Hill. He'll join us live from Beijing. And it was the headbutt heard around the world. Now the guy who did it tells his side of the story. And it's a story made for Jeannie Moos. All that, Lou, coming up right here in The Situation Room.
Looking forward to it, Wolf. Thank you. A reminder to vote in our poll tonight. Has your confidence in your elected officials ever been lower? Yes in the 90s, yes in the 80s, yes in the 70s, no. Why do you ask? Everything's boffo. Cast your vote at LouDobbs.com. We'll have the results coming up here in just a few moments. Astronauts from the shuttle Discovery today completed their third spacewalk. They tested materials that could be used to repair a damaged space shuttle. The astronauts applied sealing putty that would fill cracks in a damaged heat shield. This is the final spacewalk planned for Discovery's mission while it's docked at the International Space Station. Up next here, another look at your thoughts on the war on our middle class. And I'll be talking with three of the country's top political analysts in this country about illegal immigration reform, North Korea, Iran, Israel, and a great deal more. Stay with us.
For design to be truly inspired, it must be more than just artful. It must perform beautifully too. Now at the Infiniti Limited Engagement Summer Event, test drive the Infiniti M or FX and ask about our attractive lease and finance rates. But don't wait too long. The Infiniti Limited Engagement ends July 31st.
Okay, let's do it. Stand by, Wolf. Stand by, everyone. Come to me. Here's my take. Cue. Music. Pull. Straight to you, Wolf. Roll to on track, go.
Can you tell the difference between these pet medications? They're exactly the same, but these medications cost a lot less. And they're delivered right to my door. That's the 1-800-PET-MEDS difference. Great savings, fast service, free shipping. Order now.
In the battle against dry, rough, cracked feet, are you losing? Fight back with Gold Bond Foot Cream. Its penetrating formula helps heal dry feet like ordinary lotions can't. For victory over rough, cracked skin, Gold Bond Foot Cream. Victory over defeat.
VHICS.com helps people find the car they want at a dealer near them. How do we improve that user experience?
Include a vanity mirror so people can get an idea of how they look in their new car. Give them a free VHICS comb, too.
And your idea?
VHICS TV. Not just web pages, cool video test drives powered by Wheels TV.
Cool video test drives, now at VHICS.com. Just click Autos on Comcast.net.
Can you tell the difference between these pet medications? They're exactly the same, but these medications cost a lot less. I save the trip to the vet's office and call 1-800-PET-MEDS or order online, and my pet's medications are delivered right to my door. It's so easy. That's the 1-800-PET-MEDS difference. Great savings, fast service, free shipping.
1-800-PET-MEDS, America's largest pet pharmacy, saves you time and money on all your pet's medications.
Order online or call now.
Comcast and TNT will have you on the edge of your seat. The show that redefined the cop drama is back. The new season. Kira Sedgwick returns as The Closer. Mondays at 9 p.m. on TNT, Comcast Channel 54. When it counts, you lay it all on the line. When it counts, second place is not an option. The drama of NASCAR on all season long on TNT, Comcast Channel 54. When it counts, it's on Comcast and TNT.
Don't wait an hour for morning news. 6 a.m. CNN American Morning tomorrow.
Joining me now from Washington, Diana West, columnist, Washington Times. Here in New York, Democratic strategist Robert Zimmerman, and John Funn, columnist, Wall Street Journal. Good to have you all here. Diana, let me ask you this. We have right now Israel advancing into southern Lebanon, an insurgency that is on the rise in Afghanistan, rising sectarian violence in Iraq, a host of issues, North Korea, Iran, Syria. This administration is surrounded by challenges to what is generally regarded as superpower. How is this administration responding? How effectively?
Well, Lou, the administration is responding, but not effectively. And I think that the whole world, and what I mean by the world is the free world, is not responding effectively. We have to start connecting some dots between this violence in Israel, this violence in Mumbai, or we used to say Bombay, this violence across the continents. We have a problem with Islamic jihad. And the administration needs to start seeing these things not as isolated incidents, but as part of a pattern.
John Funn, as Diana says, this administration has been resistant to say that this is a global war on radical Islamists, and instead prefers the rather innocuous, tepid war on terror.
Yes.
Why not declare and name the enemy?
Well, it's more important to be resolved than rather than talk about the semantics. I think it's very important
that we prosecute the war and we go after everyone. If there are any connections to the Middle Eastern terrorists in India, we have to go after that as well. The bottom line, though, is resolve more than rhetoric and semantics.
I wouldn't agree with that, only because you have to define your enemy. Otherwise, people don't know what their resolve is about.
Well, I think we pretty clearly know, I think we very much know who our enemy is. And I think the reality is, what we're seeing is an administration that put all of their eggs in one basket. They put us into a quagmire in Iraq, and in fact, that has weighed us down from dealing effectively with combating terrorism around the world. And that's the real issue here. And at home, we are witnessing the spectacle of the Senate conducting hearings on legislation that effectively was passed more than a month ago. Yesterday, John Fund, we had General Peter Pace, the chairman of the Joint Staffs, Monday rather, crying at a hearing in which there was no distinction made on the part of anyone at that hearing, no difference between legal immigration and illegal. Is this purposeful obfuscation, or was that simply an accident of semantics?
This debate has become completely muddled because people are scared. They're scared that the country has lost control of its border. I think we have to look back to the last great immigration crisis we had, which was in the early 1950s, which was the first year, in 1954, when we hit over 1 million illegal alien arrests. We solved that crisis, and you know how we did it, Lou? A comprehensive approach. More enforcement and the Bracero guest worker program.
I think
it worked 50 years ago exactly.
I think we're facing a very different set of problems here. We're dealing with a Congress and a president that have refused to show any leadership in addressing this matter. These hearings are a sham, and there's no confusion about semantics. There's every effort to obfuscate the issue and delay it till after the midterm elections.
Diana West?
I think that this is being addressed at the state level. We're seeing states taking control of their own benefits, their own welfare, and their own laws pertaining to employers and illegal aliens being hired. People really want something done, and they do want the borders secured first.
But the proper way to go about it is it's a federal issue, and it's the federal government that has a responsibility to address it.
I would agree
with you. And the reality
is
you have a situation in the Republican Party, and they control both the presidency and the Congress, where you've got business that wants the cheap labor, and the conservative wing that just wants detention or deportation.
And in the Senate, you have the President of the United States for the purpose of pushing through this amnesty program, making the Democrats the majority party under Senator Bill Frist.
Making us look much more influential.
Are closer to the problem. Governor Bill Owens of Colorado this week forced the legislature to restrict benefits to illegal aliens, but he also knows that it must come hand in hand with the guest worker program. You should have him on.
I have had him on. We've discussed it quite a number of times, but thank you for the suggestion. Let me ask you another question. Aren't you offended by the fact that the President of the United States and his administration would trot out the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and put him on display like a trained monkey in a Senate hearing on immigration? I mean, aren't you offended by that?
I think the Joint
No,
Chiefs...
I'm asking a question. Are you offended?
I'm going to answer to you. The Joint Chiefs of Staff have been abused, misused, and used as props on every issue. And I think the job of Joint Chiefs of Staff is frankly outmoded. We probably should go to something else.
It may be outmoded, but those 4 stars on his shoulder deserve a hell of a lot more respect than what this administration and the Senate demonstrated.
And just as bad, this administration's attacked our military leaders when they've had the character to go after this administration for their failed policies.
Diana, quickly, you got 15 seconds to get the last word.
I think that anyone who thinks that just because their father or grandfather was an immigrant has more to say about immigration also is off the subject. This is an American issue for no matter when your people came here.
Diana West, thank you very much. Robert Zimmerman, thank you very much. John Fund, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Still ahead, the results of our poll, another look at your thoughts. Stay with us.
The absolute summer clearance at Joseph A. Bank. All clearance suits 70% off. Every clearance sport coat 70% off. All clearance dress pants 70% off. Even every clearance silk tie 70% off. Plus an extra bonus, incredible clearance values throughout the store. Right now, all clearance suits, sport coats, and more 70% off. Only at Joseph A. Bank. Now through Sunday.
Stejně neumí plavat.
Here
Risks are always evolving. Shouldn't your insurance stay in sync? Travelers.
eLoan's loan consultants don't make money based on the rate of your loan, so you get the rate you deserve. And your mortgage rate won't change before closing. No wonder home buyers are so excited about eLoan. Those are just some of the revolutionary ways we're changing the lending industry. eLoan. Radically simple.
Closed captioning provided by Head On. Head On applied directly to the forehead.
Head On, applied directly to the forehead. Head On, applied directly to the forehead. Head On, applied directly to the forehead. Head On is available without a prescription at retailers nationwide.
You see a complex shipping industry. At Franklin Templeton, we saw a chance to invest in a logistics company whose technology streamlined shipping operations. A smart move for our fund shareholders. Perspective like this has made Franklin a leading equity manager. Franklin Templeton Investments. Gain from our perspective. Ask your advisor for a prospectus with investment goals, risks, fees, expenses, and other information to read and consider carefully before investing.
Now the results of tonight's survey. 87% of you responding that your confidence in your elected officials has never been lower. Taking a look at more of your thoughts, Ida in Indiana. I'm part of the middle class and would love to get a job that Americans won't do. Why are we standing around like cattle instead of trying to save our jobs and our world? Come on, America, wake up before it's too late for all of us. Scott in New York, I agree, productivity is up. Anyone who's taken Economics 101 understands that when people work longer and harder for less money, that is seen as an increase in productivity. Sandy in Kentucky, what is this about illegal immigrants getting American driver's licenses? We're not just a melting pot, we're just melting. Richard in Alabama, why don't the Democrats seize the opportunity and call the issue the illegal employer problem instead of illegal immigrant problem? Send us your thought at LouDobbs.com. Each of you whose email is read here receives a copy of my book, Exporting America. Thanks for being with us tonight, and please join us here tomorrow when 3 of the country's leading climate scientists join me to examine the threat of global warming. What's real? What isn't? We hope you'll be with us for that and more. For all of us here, thanks for watching.